You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections, the results. We interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
That's right, Moto fans. Welcome to episode 192 of the AlwaysMoto show, proudly presented by TechnicMotorsport.com, Duramoose.com.au, and of course, Yamaha Moto Australia. I'm your host, David Hogan, the physiotherapist that knows the injuries and fitness needs of our sport of motocross and supercross. And this week's show, it's a big one. That's right, it's very big. We have actually kicked off early because it's so damn big. We had to get a few more things fitted in, so we had to be a part of it. So we're here, we're ready to go. The two main players are coming on tonight from AME who promote the Australian Supercross Championship, and they're going to join us later in the show, around about at 8 p.m. time. We're going to have Baily and Mick Sinclair on. Both of those guys are very important in obviously the creation, the running, all the things that go on with our Supercross series here in Australia. So it's awesome to have them come on the chat. That series is obviously joining us here in a couple of weeks' time. It kicks off in October. So not very far away for that at all. They've obviously had some big announcements over the last few weeks. So there's plenty for us to catch up with them about and find out some of the ins and outs and maybe even some of those backroom things that have been discussing. I know our special co-host is going to come on during that time. Elijah Wiese's got a few things from the comments section he wants to bring up, so it might get a little bit spicy as well. Hopefully I'll be able to hold on to a media pass in 2026. We'll see how that goes. But we got plenty to come from that side of things. But we're also going to cover what's happened at the Super Motocross at Redbud over the weekend as well. We've got to have a quick look forward to AusProMX this weekend at Terraugalon. So there's plenty of happening in the world of moto. So we've got to try and cover all of it. And to help us do that for the kickoff part of this show, it's the AlwaysMoto contractor, Ben Grinly. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good. Well, I've got to say, a little nervous tonight. You know, we've got more stuff happening on this show than maybe we've ever had. We've had some pretty big guests over the couple of years we've been doing this now, but I dare say none. I'd say Anton Wass from Stark, the CEO, is probably only thing that's on that same sort of level. We've had plenty of top riders, but to have the two guys, and I say main players because we can't forget Kelly Baily as well, being the managing director of AME Group. So she's probably the mainer player in all of this with Adam and Mick. But yeah, we've got two of the three, let's say. So pretty big and important show, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, it's really good of those blokes to come on and have a chat. And, you know, we've got a big series. We're heading overseas to New Zealand, Geelong, Perth, all these new areas. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear their take on, I guess why they chose and what made them go that way.
Now, while you're quickly there, I'm going to ask you a question because I had this in my notes, right? And I didn't want to sound like a clown, so I'll do it now while there's nobody else really listening. And obviously everyone listening is going to hear it. But New Zealand being Auckland, Townsville being Townsville, but a new stadium. Perth technically has been there, but I don't know if that one for, like, obviously we went to World Supercross over there, but I can't recall where they were for Australian Supercross in the past. And Geelong. But so Geelong has been on the schedule before, back in Super X days. Same with Townsville, but it's obviously a new stadium. Auckland has been on the schedule, but is back new. Do you call them new venues or do we call them returning venues? Because I would call Newcastle a returning venue, but those other ones, are we new? Because we're in a different promoter period. Are we returning? I don't know. What do we do? How do we classify them?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I guess, yeah, you're right. Newcastle would be returning. If we went to Marvel, we would be returning. But I guess, yeah, it's been a while between Geelong, Townsville, and New Zealand. So it's returning, yes, but there's some new stadiums, so it's probably, you're on the fence, probably 50-50.
Was it like 2010, 11, something like that Geelong was last on it for Super X days? And I feel like Townsville was 2009 mud race that I remember there, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, I didn't obviously look this up. I was just using the old brain cells, but that's sort of where it fits, right?
I think I went to Wollongong Super X in 2008, I'm pretty sure, which was a race that Reed lapped the whole, like up to there.
Yes, I was there.
And threw the goggles pretty much, threw the goggles away. I think Geelong was that same year, possibly.
I feel like Reedy, was that the one that Reedy and Marmont came together in the first turn and Reedy went flying on a Cowie? I feel like that was 2009 or 10.
He was Suzuki. Oh, you mean in Geelong?
At that Geelong race, yeah. So like,
I think so. I think it was.
That was Geelong venue, wasn't it? That happened?
Yeah, I think Marmont actually won that race because it was like a big thing because his daughter had passed away.
That's right.
It was like a big thing. I'm pretty sure it was the same year.
Yeah, so that's a long time ago, right? Like we remember these things because unfortunately I'm getting old, you're getting older. You're still younger than me. I'll give you that. But yeah, we remember these things because they were part of our sort of window that we were paying attention to it all really closely as developing fans and stuff. But yeah, for any of the younger kids, they would have no idea that those things went on, right? So like that's 16 years ago, give or take. So yeah, there's kids with licenses that probably don't remember any of that stuff, right? Like driver's licenses we're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that I think that's probably what started my here actually the New South Wales state titles were here for flat track on the weekend.
Ooh. Hold on. We're getting corrected already. Mick Sinclair, our guest who's coming up later, he's already watching. So hi, Mick. But he said 2019 for Geelong. So actually, we're completely skew-if here.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember that one for some reason.
No, I don't remember either. But
oh, well, we're both as bad as each other in this case. But anyway, look, here we go. So, yeah, so it's maybe not as long ago as we thought. But anyway, here we are. So, but the Townsville one, I'm pretty sure maybe he's going to correct me as well on that one. But that one, I seem to recall being a mud race and Reedy trying to throw knack-knacks in the mud of all things. So, and was that Jeremy McGrath there at that one too? I feel like that was that match race that they did, those two pair sort of race format when they're doing all those weird Super X formats.
I think that one skips the memory. I can't recall that one, but you might be right.
I just recall that for some reason in the mud, absolutely pouring down, and Reedy trying to be the showman, obviously trying to promote the series. And I feel like he did a knack-knack and either crashed or came close. But again, maybe pulling from the wrong memory bank side of things, mashing a few things together. I don't know. Anyway, we've sort of gone off track already to get this one started, but let's quickly talk about it. We're always talking about racing and all the different places that the Supercross has been, but to do that on the bike, you need suspension parts that work. And where do you get suspension parts that work, Ben? It's technicmotorsport.com, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Now, if you need anything for your suspension, seals, bushes, wipers, springs, A-kit suspension, recoatings, anything like that, you're going to have it at technicmotorsport.com. They're in Sydney, but they also ship internationally and they ship pretty much anywhere with DHL. So that's not an issue. You can get it from them. They also have a currency converter on their website. So you can also buy it in whatever currency you're shopping in, whether you're over internationally or you're here in Australia. They will get it done on their site. You can contact them through the site. You can call them up. You can walk into the shop in person, depending on where you are. If you're in Penrith in the Western Sydney, you can walk straight in. But yeah, check out technicmotorsport.com for any of your suspension needs. Now, don't forget all of our other show supporters, and we're getting a few more on board, which is fantastic. Obviously, Duramoose, they're a big part of the show. Yamaha, Barkbuster handguards, Fun and Web filters, pivot pegs, Tech 167, their 3D printing for all those little cool little parts that they make. Very cool. Don't forget to join our AlwaysMoto community. Now, on our YouTube channel now, I think it might be paused at the moment because I was slack and there's been some little things that I need to do that I obviously haven't done yet, so I've got to fix that up. But please join that when it's available. It's helps support us to keep this live stream and all these gizmos and bits and pieces we have to do this stream up and running. It's important. obviously too, let's mention them. They're hanging there in the back of Benny's shot there, Quad Lock. We've had Muckoff come in and do some stuff for us as well. So appreciate those guys out there as well. Don't forget, we've got our t-shirts. Now, I'm actually covered up tonight, Benny. I'm a little bit chilly tonight, but I've got my shirt on underneath. You can get one of these for $25 plus postage and handling. You just need to email info@alwaysmoto.com, and that'll get you one of those, and we'll get that sent out to you. But yeah, don't forget to check out all the discount codes and the links to these sponsors in our show notes or on the bio on our social pages. So check all those things out. Benny, let's get into the main general talk part of the show. Obviously, this is brought to you by Yamaha Motor Australia and the WR250F. Why don't you join the Blue Crew? I'm going to start with something that's really cool, and it's doing well on the socials in terms of one of the posts we made this week, but none of the credit goes to us. It all goes to this young man, Blake Bohannon. He is the world champ, junior world champ for the 85cc class. He went 1-1 over in the Czech Republic, straight off the back of going crazy balls at Cessnock for the state titles. He went straight over there on the plane, got the job done. It's a pretty impressive situation that Blake has put himself in. One, to be on that team, but two, to go 1-1. And three, I don't know how much you watched the highlights package, Benny, but he didn't have it all his own way. He got some average starts and he had to pass probably 8 to 10 people each moto, and he did, and he ran away. Very impressive rides from Blake Bohannon.
Yeah, I haven't seen the highlights, but yeah, to go over, on the big stage and pretty much show what he's been showing here, the last few races, and to go 1-1's a pretty special thing and be champion. So I'm sure he's, really proud of that. Family, everyone back here is proud of that. Massive achievement.
Yeah, no, and hopefully we've been talking to some of the guys from Motorcycling New South Wales this week since that news was, broke that he'd got the title, because I think that happened early Sunday, like over Sunday night, Monday morning. So yeah, we've been talking to them. There's a few things they're trying to do in terms of getting him on to some news coverage because we feel like it's deserved. They're trying to organise that for his return. So yeah, there's a few other things happening. If you want to find out, DM me, we can help set some of that up. But yeah, very impressive there for Blake Bohannon. Obviously Yamaha, obviously supporting him there. His dad, Tim, getting it done. I can't recall his mum's name. Sorry, mum. But I'm sure they're all part of this and, very proud of the young man. And look, I guess the things next for him are also cool. From my knowledge, he's doing the MX3 final 3 rounds of the Pro MX coming up here, but on a 125 against the 250. So he's going to be underpowered. He's also going to be the youngest because he got a special exemption to do that. I dare say this is just a step to try and maybe take up something like an EMX 125 ride next year that I'm sure a few teams would have been throwing deals at him after this result while he was over there. It's got to be good to be Blake right now, right?
Yeah, he's got to be on cloud 9, and you're right. There'd be, a few teams throwing feelers out and seeing, what they want to do. I think it's cool that he got the exemption to be able to, ride the bigger class. He's obviously, outgrown the 85. So, it's definitely cool.
It's funny that you say he's outgrown because if you stood next to him, because I've stood next to him on the podium a few times when we're doing interviews for, the live stream commentary for Motorcycle New South Wales and stuff. And he's only, yay high. He's tiny. He's actually outgrown the competition in so many ways of that class and just needs to be pushed to keep developing. So I'm glad that somebody saw sense in that request, to want to do that request, and two, to then have the governing body grant said request as well. So yeah, it'll be cool. Let's see what he does these next few rounds for ProMX. All right, let's get to Pro Motocross at Redbud. Interesting day over there from a race point of view, just from the, running the event. They had a little issue with weather, which we'll get to in a little bit, but it left them with a few tents bent, let's say, and maybe useless, a few bits of campgrounds that were also useless, but not from the fact that the wind twisted them, but the fact they were underwater, maybe. So that was an interesting thing. I was actually disappointed that I wasn't there. I kind of wanted to see it, but I was also glad I wasn't there. I was there last year and 2 years before that. and looking at the media tent, that I don't know if you noticed, Benny, that was actually the media tent. That was the big white marquee flapping out the sides of. I would have probably been stuck underneath that, just trying to hold all my camera gear, dry. So that was an interesting one, right? Like that's something unusual, but it's what happens in outdoor events. Anything can happen weather-wise.
Yeah. And the weather with the way it was, there were still people with the cameras filming everything that was happening.
There's always somebody with a camera filming.
Here you are saying I'd be hiding my cameras, but yet there's still people filming.
I would have been hiding them and just holding the phone up, just because the phone's less expensive.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, no, it was, looked very wild. And I'd say there's probably a few merchandise freebies that got blown away that a few people have just pocketed and left with on the weekend.
Nobody would have done that, Benny. Nobody.
But no, that's very that the weather absolutely just destroyed the place.
Yeah, it definitely did. Now to the racing side of things, 450 class first. It's pretty much a breakaway between the Lawrence boys at the front. But what's interesting so far this season is, one, Hunter has something for Jet. And two, Jet seems to have an ongoing issue. As much as he's back and there's been some growing, returns in performance, he's not all linear up. He looked like he had a bit of a dip down in performance this one, which was still foot ankle related. But what's most interesting is the speed and the late race speed that Hunter Lawrence has had, and that's what got him the job done. 2-1 moto scores, probably should have been 1-1. Sounds like the bike flamed out on him in that corner, not necessarily a stall, because it didn't look like it was the point of the corner where he would be on the brakes. It was on the point where he was going out of the corner under power, and from a couple other things I've heard and read, it sounds like that the back tire just got clogged as it came around and it put a bit more load on the engine, caused it to switch off, and down he went. So probably should have been 1-1, right?
Yeah, I think he would have been pretty pissed to get up and look and Jet just go straight past him and end up winning.
How close was that, by the way? But Jet almost got him. Like he almost ran straight into him. That would have been real bad.
Yeah, but both of those, both of them after that moto, when the camera's showing both of them, they've just gone 1-2 and they're like hating life. They both got the shits.
That was bizarre, right?
Yeah, they both got the shits. They're not happy. You go 1-2 and you're still not happy. So I think Jet's still got a little bit of work to do. I think their foot's probably, there's still a long way to go with that. On the podium, he said, it was the bike choice that he made, but that could, just sort of be a cover. But the late race pace, in Supercross, we saw it from Hunter. And again, now we're seeing it. And, he's pretty much raced all year without a worry, really, apart from that one crash that he had. His fitness is, at the top, basically.
Yeah, what he did to Prado in that last in Moto 2 had to really demoralize Prado's confidence there, because he had like nearly 11 seconds or something gap, and it was down to 9 when he sort of started pushing, and 2 laps later he was passing him. Like 9-second gap gone. Like, where does that go? And the interesting part, I think I noted down that Prado was doing 209s early in that moto, and at that point where he was being caught, he was down to 216. So these guys pride themselves on doing very consistent lap times throughout motos, but Moto 1 and Moto 2 being very similar in their times. He didn't have that. And he says he's fit. He says he's, all good. He's happier with the KTM versus last year. We won't bring that up, but that's a big drop off.
Yeah. And at Parla, I thought, here we go, like this season's on. And
right?
It's sort of hasn't trended that way.
Parla's a weird one. It always is weird, because it's one of those tracks that everyone rides when they're first to the States, because it's the easy one to get to. Everyone goes to LA. Everyone ends up there, especially the riders. They all end up there because that's where a lot of the industry still is. There's less and less of the industry there, or at least the top level pro industry, but there is still a big chunk of it there. So they all get there first. So obviously he was most familiar with that track. That's obviously helped this scenario, right? Like, because he's still learning the pace and the lines of the other tracks. So is it all that? Is that all the issue? Or is it maybe he's not actually as fit as he thinks he is? I don't know.
Yeah, I think this weekend will tell us a little bit more. Yeah, he should probably do really well at this track, so that'll, if the fitness side comes into it, then I'm sure this track will show it.
Well, I remember standing next to, I can't remember who, maybe it was Pulp when we were doing post-race interviews after Southwick last year at the track. And I was talking to Mosman, and then I was waiting for a few people, and I was just standing there listening to Prado and Pulp doing an interview. And then he was saying it sort of to me, and I was getting it from the team guy as well afterwards, not on record, but he was basically saying if he was comfortable with the bike, he would win because it was Southwick, it was sand. So if you take that info, plug it into this year, he's telling us he's going to win Southwick because he's got superior sand skills. You're on the money. It's got to tell something, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, this will be the showing sign as to whether there's a fitness problem, or it's just still learning some of the other tracks and lines and dealing with the track conditions.
Yeah, well, he rode, I think he was a 4th, 5th guy at Southwick because he didn't hit the podium if I recall correctly. But no, because it was Jet Hunter, Eli. But he was up there, so he actually hopefully knows this one pretty well. So we'll see. 250s. There's something stirring for the Cole Davies and the New Zealander, and obviously it's not just the fact he's involved with Supercross later in the year for us here in Auckland and Melbourne or Geelong, but he's finding his outdoor feet, Benny. There's something happening there. He's looking much more like a fully rounded racer in both series.
Yeah, and we talked about it, I think before the season started, he hadn't really shown much because he hadn't really ridden.
He hadn't
much
been there,
outdoors.
right?
Yeah, he was always injured. And it's probably taken him a few weeks to get into the groove of things. But yeah, there's definitely, he's definitely going to be there at the, the last few rounds for this title.
Yeah, I'm just getting text messages from a one Ryan Kohlenberg who wants his shout out on the show.
Tonight's not the night.
You had your go, bro. No, suit up for Supercross. Get out there, buy a ticket. There you go. So Cole is definitely something that once he gets, familiar and comfortable and not having to deal with coming off the back of injuries, which he's done for those couple of motos he's had, it's obviously starting to work. And surely the confidence is building. Yes, he got run down by Joe in Moto 2 there at the end. So this is where I find there's like an interesting piece building because Joe's on the up because that's what Joe does through the second half of the season. Cole is on the up because he's getting confidence from actually being fit, healthy at outdoors and getting results. So who gets over the top of who when they're both on an upward trajectory? Throw in the fact that Levi Kitchens may be on a leveling out downward trajectory from the beginning of the season, who had the red plate.
Yeah, and here I was thinking it was going to be a Hammaker and Levi show. It's now, he's
switching around.
Levi's starting to slip, like you said. Joe and Cole are, on the upward trend. So I think we still end up with maybe a 3-way battle, but it's only going to take one more bad result for, Levi or something like that to, get the doubts in his head and sort of just drift back each race to then leave it to the two, to leave it to Cole and Joe.
Well, and speaking of Southwick this weekend, I can't really say that any of those 250 guys stand out to me as being sand specialists. Like Cole, I don't think's probably been heaps in sand. I don't think there's much of that sand tracks in New Zealand to grow up on. I don't know for sure, but maybe some of the soils are similar, but not sandy. I don't know. Joe is probably okay, but he had bad results last year. One, because he fell off in one of them and got hit by a rider and ripped the back of his jersey. And Levi, I don't feel like he was very good. I feel like watching him, I've got photos of him and he's like burying the bike. He's not flowing through things. So I don't think he was super skilled in that area either. So is there an upset this weekend, or is this like still a three-way battle that then they establish themselves because they're just the three best in the class at the moment? Or you're probably going to bring it up. I'll let you do it, but Sasha Kunin is probably the obvious answer here, right?
Yeah, it's depends. Can he stay on the bike? I mean, we just saw him crash again.
The dude crashes more often than most people can actually swing their leg over the bike, right? Like,
yeah, and if that was me and that hit, I'd still be laying there. He just gets back up and runs back to the bike. So I definitely think you got to throw him in the mix. He did all right when he was here the other weekend, but I can see. I still think it'll be those three for the title, but I think AMA have done a good job here because we're going to end up with the Supercross champion and the Pro Motocross champion on Australian soil.
Hey, you
in the same year.
Don't jinx the man, all right? Don't jinx the man.
There's two.
Well, yeah, look, there's two options here, but don't jinx either of them, because the other part of this, and I don't know if we'll get to that in the chat with AME later on, but obviously you sign these guys so far out, these international riders so far out from that point that they're going to come down, and there is that massive risk of them becoming injured and not showing up at all, aka last year, Juju Beaumer, Cole Davies, both weren't able to fulfill those initial contract arrangements, that they had because of injuries in the Super Motocross series, which is September, right before they were then going to come down and do AUSX Open. So, yeah, that is one of those, you can't plan for that in Moto, right? Like, you just got to go with the fact that we want them to come. If they're healthy, they will come, but you just don't know what's going to happen between, like, I dare say they sign these guys at some point in like March, April, maybe. And then we're talking about an event in October, November, depending on where they put it for the dates to fall each year. That's a long time in Moto that something can go wrong.
Yeah, but if it pays off, then, like you said, it's good for us. We got unlucky last year.
Yeah, that happens. And I don't know if they have, like, I would hope that they somehow have, some backups lined up to try and take those sorts of things if that occurs. And I know riders have stepped up in the past, aka Cooper Webb has done it, back in the 2015, 16s, wherever that was, 17s maybe, something like that, I think, with the Sydney round that they did it, was it whatever it's called in there nowadays, but he filled in for when somebody wasn't able to show up at last minute sort of thing. So he filled a void, but yeah, it's the nature of our sport, right? So anyway, yes, we might have Joe or we might have Cole as the Pro Motocross champ turning up. The fact that Joe's going to be doing a 450 for a Supercross debut is kind of cool. Kind of necessary, I would think, from his side of things, to try and earn himself a 450 contract as well, to try and step that next level up to show that he can do it, Supercross-wise, because that's where his results lacking, right?
Yeah, I actually just did skip over the fact that Cole won the Supercross title, so it would be 3, possibly.
Well, yeah, if he doesn't get the pro, I was going with the fact don't jinx the Pro Motocross for him. But yeah, if it went the other way and Joe gets it, then you'd have the Pro Motocross, an East Coast, and an AMA 450 Supercross champ. Like, yeah, like you can't really not cover much more. So yeah, it's a pretty impressive time. Let's chat about a couple of the Aussie/New Zealand riders that were over there for Redbud. The returning Brodie Connolly, finally back on track. I think he said 11 months since he's been at a race. Now, he did ride practice at Redcliffe round 1 and then quickly pulled out because he had actually broken his, I think it was his scaphoid at that point, if I remember correctly, something in the wrist. In the week leading up to it, and he thought he could try, and then found out on the Monday afterwards that it was actually, broken, required surgery, so he never actually did it. But yeah, it's been a long time for Brodie before he's been back on the track. And no offense, the results probably showed it. He was outside the points in Moto 1, just inside the points in Moto 2. But the fact he's back on track is damn good.
Yeah, I guess you just got to get a few more gate drops, some more belief, and just, the fitness too. That's a massive part of it. And again, not riding for 11 months, there's a lot of these tracks he won't have ridden. So he's going to have to learn that, as well as, trying to get back into some form.
Do you find it funny? Because I did, when they kept announcing, whenever he'd pop up on this coverage, which wasn't too many times, but they'd announce him as the Australian champ and he's come all the way from Australia. And I'm like, you guys realize he's Kiwi, right?
It happens all the time.
I know they just assume that we're all one, but I feel like there's a little bit of disrespect on that sort of comment.
Yeah, there is a little bit, but it's, they, like you said, they don't see it over there. We're joined together. We're all one.
It's just like Wiese is top notch, right? But he's the one that was doing it. And I was like, come on, mate.
Yeah. I mean, he is he is the Australian champ, but he's Kiwi. So it's sort of yes and no sort of thing.
Yeah, it'd be like saying, Ken Roxon's the American champ and calling him an American. I know he now has an American passport, but he is German.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of those little things that I sort of picked up. Obviously I pay a bit more attention to the commentary these days, with doing some of the commentary myself. So trying to learn from these things and try and figure out what not to do and, what sounds dumb at times. So, and I always still say dumb stuff as it is. So anyway, the other man that was over there, Kate Kingsford, not sure too many people knew about this one. It wasn't super well publicized beforehand that he was doing it. I think it was one of those cases that if you got to that point in the season, uninjured and all good, they'd go ahead. I think it caught a few people off guard too that he was doing the SMX Next program, given that he rides MX2 here in Australia. But I think it's kind of obvious that he did it because it's a stepping stone into that, 250 class. But it's also his age. He's still, reasonably young. And he needs, in terms of that, yes, he's an an SX3, I should say, SX3 champ in Australian Supercross. And who knows what he'll be by the end of this year in terms of SX2. But they don't necessarily take those things. They need points to do Supercross in the US. So by doing the SMX Next, he's gaining those professional license points to actually let him, fully enter one without having to just rely on hey, I did it in Australia sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think with the collarbone, the doubts probably would have been there that it wasn't going to happen, but he's come back pretty well from that, as we've seen in ProMX. So it's good to see him go over there and, have a decent run, get the experience. His team did him dirty today on Instagram. I saw though with him stuck in a corner in the mud, just
really
standing there like, how do I get this bike out of this hole? But
didn't see that one.
But yeah, no, I think it'd be good for the experience, and at some point with the crossover between here and there, surely he's gonna race some supercrosses over there.
Yeah, well, we spoke to both of them on the show this year so far, but Ryder as well mentioned in his that he was meant to be over there at the beginning for Supercross. His injury for his shoulder stuffed that up. So I expect both of them at some point to end up over there at the same time later this year, even if it's just for a bit of a Supercross training session at one of the they train at Millsap's facility, I believe it is, the Quad Lock team does stuff from. So, yeah, even if they're just over there for that for a couple of weeks, I'm sure they'll be over there at some point here soon trying to work on Supercross skills, or even, hitting up one of maybe the last 3 nationals over there, because I think by that point, yes, I'm correct, they'll be, our series Pro Motocross is done, but they'll still have those 3 rounds of their motocross series going on in August. So yeah, maybe they hit up those 3 while they're still in that motocross mode. Who knows? It's maybe we can hit them up when we see them at the final few rounds of motocross. We'll see what goes on there. But yeah, good to see Kate over there. He didn't have super good results in terms of where he finished. up there. I think it was 5-4, if I remember, but he had a crash in turn one. And then he also mentioned that he basically got whacked with the heat, which is interesting because, yes, they say that, us Aussies, we can deal with the heat, but when you come from winter over here to their summer in literally a 24-hour period, because you get off the plane and you're straight into it, it's hard to deal with, but also I would think that maybe he's not super good at dealing with it because, like, he's in Melbourne for training at the moment, which is cold, but he's also grew up in Goulburn, and he was in Goulburn recently after Appin, I believe. And Goulburn's a cold hole. No offense to Goulburn people, but it's damn cold down there. So I don't think, they had really acclimatized to turning up over there.
Mate, I've only got to fly from Sydney to the Gold Coast and I nearly die with the heat change. So for them, the humidity and everything. So yeah, for him to go over there from our winter to the summers, and especially with the humidity, I don't blame him.
Yeah, just one of those things that is another reason that doing the SMX Next was probably a good idea for him to get some experience and exposure to those conditions. Those tracks over there are way different size, scale, not to mention the temperatures and stuff are different to what we do here. So, yeah, I think it was a great idea. He did reasonably well. I think he'll do even better the next time he's there because, just from having the exposure. So, yeah, pretty fantastic way of going about it. Just can't believe that people were shocked. Our group chat was shocked, right? Like, why SMX Next?
Yeah, like you said, I think it's a smart move. But I guess everyone's got their own opinion, and let me tell you, there's a lot of opinions in that group chat of ours.
What's the saying? An opinion's like a certain body part, and everyone has one. Some you should keep to yourself.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think it's fine, but yeah, everyone, like I said, everyone's got their own opinion. So I think it'll work out well in the end.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. Now, we've got a little bit of extra time here. We're waiting on our special co-host, Elijah Wiese, to join us here shortly. So we'll get to something I'm trying to leave for him right before our Supercross interviews of the night. But let's talk AusProMX as well, because round 6 is back this weekend. Obviously, we've had a couple of week break since Appin, where we were at the venue and doing some interviews and getting some photos and whatnot. Obviously, we spoke to Hayden Downey on the last show after that one as well. He was a great interview as well, but the action's back. I think I just want to talk about MX3 to start with and obviously mentioned Hayden Downey, but I feel like we could get a 6th winner this weekend. And I'm trying to plug our man, Riley Burgess, who's in the group chat as well, for that 6th winner to get himself back into a title fight as well.
Yeah, it's possible. He definitely showed at Appin that he has the speed. He's been struggling with the starts. He got the starts at Appin, just sort of couldn't quite pull it together.
Yeah,
just a little mistake here and there, but it's close.
At one point at Appin, he was in the lead, wasn't he? Like for an overall claim, but then it's sort of the last 10 minutes of the moto or something, things changed around, and he sort of dropped back a little with that mistake. So
yeah, just in that last last 10 minutes, he was not a very happy boy in the group chat after that.
Kind of understandable.
Everyone trying to pat him on the back and say, chin up, but yeah, he was not happy. So I think he's definitely got a point to prove, and I'm sure he really wants a win.
Yeah, but he's going to have to battle out a bunch of these guys because, we've had Devison, we've had Draper, Fuller, Fisher, Downey, the list has been shuffled up. It's like a deck of cards. You just shuffle it before we start and you'll pull one off the top, and that's the one who's going to do well. But there has been some inconsistent results as well there in terms of those guys after they've had wins and stuff. But now is the crunch time for all of these guys. If they want to be the person, the winner, there's got to be a step up here. So who's going to be the one that actually, grabs a hold of this and takes that step to the end? Draper still has the points lead, but he didn't have a great Appin. So he's coming off a not so confident round.
Yeah. And I think it's cool too. There's, all those winners are from very different scaled sizes of teams too. Like you got privateer, little team, factory team. Like it's not, just factory boys up front. There's a mix. So that's also, a really good thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool too. It's obvious that's where it should be for that MX3 class, and it's awesome to see it working in that manner. So yeah, that sort of things is wicked. MX2, what's standing out for you there, Benny? Because I feel like Larwood is controlling it, but still somewhat hit and miss, just rarely. But both these Kingsford boys are coming. And Noel Ferguson's getting some consistency. So there's a lot to this one.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Like the first moto it happened, Ferguson's performance was brilliant. And then the second one, I think he made a mistake or something, wasn't as good. And then, the two brothers are, again, Ryder had that little mistake. He probably would have been up there as well, not as far back as he was. And with Larwood, I think it's, you've got, four-way battle really, and whoever stays on two wheels is probably going to clinch it.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know why. I'm just hoping that Ryder Kingsford, this little break, he's been building and building back off that shoulder injury. He looked like he was there or thereabouts in Appen, but just that mistake in that second moto really cost him. He dropped it right at the wrong point early in that moto, just after taking the lead. I felt like if he hadn't have done that, maybe he runs off with that one. So I'm really feeling like Ryder Kingsford could jump back into this. He's probably too far down in the points. Maybe he's not, but he'd have to probably win a lot of these remaining motos to get into it and have some things go his way. But yeah, I feel like he could spoil a few people's points abilities here if he does what I think he's going to do, because going off last year, he was the only guy challenging Connolly really. And he's just not quite there yet with the team changing the injury at the beginning of the season. But I feel like he's coming, hopefully this 2-week, 3-week break, whatever it was, 3 weeks, wasn't it? Maybe that's enough for him to just bridge that next step up.
Yeah, I'd say he would have, they would have done a fair amount of work trying to get things, moving along a bit more compared to what he's had it. Again, more time on the bike. And yeah, like you said, he was the only one really sort of up to pace with Connolly in a way. So I would say, there's a fair chance that it happens. Be interesting to see where he would be at even with the injury on the Yamaha, just as a crossover to see if it would be any different. But yeah, I think more time on that bike, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we'll keep an eye on that MX2 class because it's fairly interesting as well. The class that's less, it's hard to say less interesting, but seems to be more consistent with the results, particularly the man at the front, MX1, Jed Beaton. Do we expect anything different from him at round 6? Because so far this season, he's had a couple of little, challenges, but he's generally been the man controlling it at the front.
Yeah, I think it's going to be much the same. Depends on how much. I know TNT got second at Appen, and Crawford's been doing well. Maybe Crawford gets some extra, motivation now being on that factory team with that switch over, and has some more resources to get him maybe closer. But I find it, I think Beaton's just in a class of his own at the moment. We don't really know where Webster's at. So again, and I'd probably think that you'd see Beaton, Tanti, and Crawford up front as, those top three again. Just it really depends on,
What sort of jump do we see from Crawford, if any, after making this switch to the factory Honda team?
At points last year on the KTM, he was fast. Like he was good.
He's been that way on that Moto Coach Honda at times too so far. So
yeah, and he's been good on that. So yeah, like I said, with that, the switch to the factory team, more resources. It's switching from Honda to Honda, but you've just got a little bit more, at your fingertips to play with. yeah, there could be, could be the same sort of thing for maybe this round until the next few. Still trying new things with, suspensions, maybe things like that. But yeah, top three at least still, I think.
I feel like there's a in this scenario, he's got to the point where he's got what he wanted, as in he was pretty obvious about saying it at the beginning of that switch from when he left KTM early in the season to taking this Honda Moto Coach Elite Honda ride, that he wanted to get to the top truck. He's there. So I feel there's just going to be a psychological boost that he's on something. He'd just be telling himself it's better than what he was on, right? No matter whether it is or it isn't, he'll just be telling himself. So I think this round there'll be maybe a potential bump, but then does it settle in and he's got to adjust things and get a bit more closed off, or is he just that much over the moon that it doesn't, it's all candy at that point?
Yeah, I think you get a little bit of a boost. And like you said, getting to that, we saw it with, I guess Prado hasn't really done much for Sexton, but,
Wow. just drop that in there.
Yeah.
The man's got a sore knee, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, it does do things. So, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, we'll have to keep an eye on Crawford, because I am curious if there is just that, big bump for this round and then maybe it just settles back into where he was. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, he's got what he wanted. So that's he's got to be happy with that. Yeah, you mentioned Tanti. You mentioned Beaton. The Webster thing is the interesting one. I haven't got any info because obviously the team's been running around left, right, and center, and I haven't got anything around his status. Now, we might see something about that soon. Obviously, the weekend's coming up here. But yeah, what status is he at? I actually don't know.
I have to laugh. And if Mick and Nat are still in the chat, they'll probably laugh too that I bring this up. But in Geelong, he said, at the AUSX Open thing, that he loves racing under lights. He hasn't raced under lights for how long now? And, it's, he was all right for that. And it didn't, whether they've been working on stuff or not, but he looked good in the interviews. But yeah, how is he feeling, body wise to be able to actually race after basically being lifted out of the mule by your Eve at Appen?
Yeah, that was an interesting thing to watch when we were standing there, right? Like he didn't look comfortable, and yeah, he probably does like racing on the lights. He just hasn't had the opportunity to do it recently. He's been winning MX of Nations, Benny. It's fine. He's allowed to do what he's been doing. The man should have a statue somewhere as being I saved the team with the Lawrence boys. So he's almost like that guy. There's the three guys in the spaceship that went to the moon. There's Neil Armstrong and there's Buzz Aldrin and there's that other guy. He's that other guy that nobody will really remember the name of, right? It's Michael Collins, by the way. I got that one. Yeah. But yeah, he's unfortunately that third man, but he was probably the important link in all of that to get that done. So yeah, whether he's able to do it this year, whether he does all the Supercrosses, hopefully he actually gets to do some Supercrosses because he has Supercross skills. He just hasn't had the ability to use them recently because of those other things that he's been preparing for. So,
yeah, and that's where I think the joke comes in. Is he loves racing under lights, but yeah, he hasn't been able to do it. So
yeah,
it's
Anyway, all right.
But then who do you send to MX of Nations this year? Like that's a hard one too.
Well, and
we need to pick three now, not just.
Not just one.
Not just one,
Well, that's the thing that's going to pop up here with this Supercross chat at some point as well, is that date clashes with that opening round. It's made things very interesting for teams to be able to prepare, their lineups, the riders prepare for the event. Are they going to the other thing? They won't know straight away. I'm sure they've already put in the applications to Motorcycling Australia to be available to be selected. So they would sort of know that side of things, but are they going to follow through and accept that if it gets offered to them? that opening round is going to be an interesting thing to see when we're a couple of weeks out, who's going where, who's doing what, and how that then plays into this little stash that MA, brought up, that the opening round is not a sanctioned event, not part of the Australian Championship. I shouldn't say sanctioned event, Australian Championship. So, yeah, that's a weird conversation that we're going to have later on in the year when those things start popping up, right, Benny?
Yeah, and of course, like you've got 1, 2, 3 plates. Like you don't not want them on, Australian bikes.
The other part of that, and this is terrible, but without those Lawrences on those plates, obviously the guys that are going to fill it are going to do a good job, but we potentially won't be in that top 5 to 10 even, maybe, depending on who we end up getting on there, because we're going to drop significantly by not having those guys going, Hunter going 1-1, bloody Jet going 1-2 or whatever it was that he did, and then, the scores from Kyle. We're going to have, 8s, 9s, 10s throughout this one. So we're going to drop down this list probably a bit, unfortunately. The Lawrences might come around the following year and be, number 40 and 41 and 42 or something, Hopefully not. Hopefully it's much higher.
Do you think maybe someone gets in? I don't see Jet, not with the foot, but do you think maybe someone gets in Hunter's ear and say, hey, can you just do this one?
No, job is done for those boys. They've done their part, which I'm stoked on that they did, and they've achieved that. We broke that, that drought of never to actually having one. We've now got 2. But they need a break. Those guys need a break. They also need their new Hondas. The new Hondas are coming for them this year. Hopefully we get invited to a launch at some point for Honda here later this year as well, here in Australia. But yeah, they're going to have some work cut out in terms of just getting a bike right for Supercross. So they've got things they got to focus on that are more important for their finances and their career overalls than one weekend in, was it France? So
yeah.
Anyway, yes. Now, our man Elijah is late, so I don't know where we're going to get to for the next few minutes, but we might just sit here in silence, Benny, because he's not here.
Is he running on SA time? Was he running on New South Wales?
Well, he did.
Is that where the confusion is gone?
We have this conversation regularly with him, and I make sure I say NS dub time all the time, but when he's written back 7:45 this time, I'm running late. Maybe he meant... So it's actually going to be like 8:15 for him. I don't know. We will see. Oh, geez. But anyway, we're not far off the big interview of the night. So anyone listening in the chat, we've got a couple people in there. Not heaps yet so far. I'm expecting them to probably pop in at that 8 o'clock. But we obviously, if you're in there and you got questions for Mick Sinclair or Adam Baily when they turn up, drop them in the comments there. I think we've got a couple that came through on different messages, so we might try and get to some of those during the interview if we get time. Benny, you've left the question because you're going to go and jump into the chat when this gets going, because we can only have 4 on tonight, unfortunately.
Yep.
As we've many times before, we've seen the internet here goes well until we really push it, and it's actually raining again. So the Starlink doesn't do as well in the rain. So we're going to only have 4 on screen at once, which is a shame. At some point, we might try and boost this up, but we're going to have to figure out how to do a post Newcastle Supercross round at the house and do an actual, big pod, or big show, I should say, because it's not just a podcast anymore. You'll be able to get it on the podcast streams tomorrow as well and just listen to the audio. But yeah, the live side of things, we'll have to get the show going here with multiple mics and stuff so we can all be in one and not have to kill the internet so much.
Yeah, we need to do like a round table or something and just have the camera back a little bit from different angles. And
yeah, so, well, we've got somebody dinging here. Let me have a look, see who it is. Oh, Mick's trying to jump in early, but we'll have to hang on a second for that one. He's ready to go, which I like the promptness. Excited. Yeah, I love the promptness. So, no, that's fantastic. But we got some plans for that Newcastle round because obviously it's the local one for myself. So we'll be able to try and get some things done before and after that one with, potentially people hanging around. We'll get them here. I'd love to do something with like a Mick or an Adam or a Kelly, either just before that final round or just after, just to see as like a summation of, how it went and where to next. So because it's always interesting. As much as you say these things now at the beginning of a season, we've got these plans, we've got these people coming, we're going to do this, that, and the other. We're going to have, X amount of people turning up. When you actually put it down and you've got the physical data to say we did X, we were planning for X plus 10. Yeah. What's it look like on that other side? So,
yeah. Interesting thing. At Marvel, we moved the seats forward. Like the seats go forward towards the track. They moved them out. There's a big gap. I don't know whether you can do that at Geelong. So that'd be interesting to see. I don't like to say Mick corrected us. I don't remember 2019.
no, Geelong's just a AFL ground. It's fixed. So there's nothing moving there.
So you can't, they're going to put seats like out on the oval. What are that? Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that, how that turns out. Or we're just going massive track and,
hopefully we can just go massive track and we just go whole hog, cover the whole damn thing. And, obviously we got to keep them. Some of these things are kept from the fence lines from an insurance point of view, which is fair. But yeah, an AFL ground's a lot bigger, generally speaking, than an NRL footy ground, soccer ground, whatever you want to call it, a rectangle. We're now on an oval. So yeah, there's some potentials there to get this longer, wider. Maybe we get like a massive long rhythm lane that we can actually get some cool connections and combinations going through it, and then repeat it coming back the other way sort of thing. Or it'll be interesting to see what they do. We haven't obviously seen any of those track maps and such that they start getting out. Those will probably be in the next few months. So yeah, there's some stuff here to happen just yet. All right, let's I think we might just let Mick in, and then we'll kick you out when we get to the next ones, Benny. Because let's just roll it off the cuff. Let's get Mick in and just see where we get to, because it's about that time, and I can only fluff pieces for so long, right? Like
let's let him in.
Hold on 2 seconds. Let's get the admit button going. Here he is. We're gonna get this to guest screen. There he is. Mick, how we doing, mate?
Good, thanks, boys. How are you?
Not too bad. We're a little bit not where we thought we'd be, because our man Elijah is just pulling a no-show. I don't know if he's going to have a late note or something, but we're going to keep Benny on for a bit longer because we're going to kick him out because we can only have 4 on. And obviously we're waiting on Adam at some point, but we just thought we'd run it now and see how we go.
Yeah, no dramas. Let's do it. Good to be on with you boys. I enjoyed the first bit of the show. It was actually my first one tuning in, so it was really cool. You guys are doing a great job.
No, I appreciate it, Mick. Thank you for that. But look, it's awesome to have you guys actually available to come and join the AlwaysMoto show for one. But it's interesting. Obviously, you guys have been doing a lot of work in the background and starting to build into this series, but without trying to cover too many of the other things that we've got planned for once everyone else is here. It just seems like you guys, to go on holidays for a period from like December through to June now sort of thing. But you obviously do a lot of work in the background, right?
It's funny you say that. Everyone thinks we sit around doing nothing for
just nicked off to the beach.
It never actually stops, from that moment of that last event, we go into reporting mode, and it's, we're spending months on reporting, whether it's, stakeholders, partners, government partners. It doesn't stop. It might go a little bit quiet for us around February, but it ramps up pretty quickly. But yeah, we're definitely not sitting around doing nothing, that's for sure.
Is there a big changeover point? Like you said, it goes quiet around February. I gather that's because when all those summary points from the previous season are sort of done, but is there then a changeover where you're like, right, we've got to lock in everything for 2026, and then that just goes bang from I gather late February, March sort of thing?
Yeah, going quiet is probably not the right word for it for me, especially from my side with my, when my role's kind of pivoted over the last couple of years, looking after partnerships mainly. It's a sales job, so it's all year round.
You can't let those things go quiet, right? Like the connection's got to be hot the whole time.
All the way around. So that doesn't stop, and Adam, we've kind of all got our own little pillars that we focus on, but then we all jump in and have opinion on things. But Adam's working year round on trying to secure venues and riders and bits and pieces, and Callie's in the same boat. Actually, Beige said he's waiting.
Yeah, I just did see a ding there. I was just going to get to that one. So We'll just see
Yeah,
who
so-
else has jumped. Oh, and Elijah's here too. So, Benny, we might have to boot you so we can get our 4-point going here.
I'd rather leave Benny, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we might invite him back to see how this part goes, right? Like,
I'll be watching and waiting. So if the invite comes, I'll slip back in.
he's going to go
you're on the
sneak into
bench.
He's going to go sneak into the chat room instead, and he's going to throw from there. So we'll see what happens.
Someone's got to cut the oranges.
Yeah, stay warm on the bench, mate. Might be brought back in too quick.
All right.
Thanks, Benny. All right, let's get these guys in here. We'll admit them all. Get it set up. There we go. Now we're cracking. We've joined everybody in. I'm going to make sure I get the right screen going here.
Hey.
We should all fit. There we go. All right, Adam's just disappeared into a black. There we go. All right, we're back. So let's do a proper introduction here. We've got our special guest and co-host man here, Elijah Wiese. He's running late. Where's the late note, mate?
Sorry, boys.
Yeah. We're on New South Wales time.
Busy training the future of the sport.
Oh, righto. Well, he's not the most important part that's here tonight, but obviously we've got the two main men here, two big influential parts of the Australian Supercross series, Adam Baily and Mick Sinclair, and we appreciate you guys both for making time here. We've had Mick already sort of semi-introduced, but Adam, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me and making the time, obviously, boys.
No, definitely. And you as well. I believe you're already having a little, pre-season vacation, I gather, at this point, just to try and make sure you've got some rest up ready to go, because you probably got a big task here in the next few weeks, mate.
Yeah, generally this time, we always have this huge build-up before events are finalised, announced, tickets go on sale and all of that. And then we probably have a couple of weeks where we go into kind of regrouping mode and we try and get away from that time, just because with the family and stuff, October, November is just tapped. So
written off.
Try and get a couple of weeks. Yeah, pretty much.
How do you, and Mick, like this as well for you, but like you have your family as well. Your daughter obviously does very well in the BMX side of things. How do you make time for those commitments with this massive thing that you're trying to produce in multiple cities, right? Like that's hard to do. Or do you just literally try and make up for it the rest of the year round?
Oh man, my work-life balance is pretty good. I mean, and the kids know come November, it's time for dad dad goes to work those weekends.
Sure.
But, I'm around every other weekend. I work from home every day. I'm pretty fortunate to do that. I get to go to training every night with my kids. So Bays is in Bali now. I'm going to Brizzy for 10 days. Next week we got world champs there. So, it's kind of, we get through that period and then we come back and all lock in. I mean, like Bay said, we've been scrambling, like all five of us have been just going at it, getting these events on sale, getting these media launches done, like a fair bit of travel. And then between now and kicking these events off, we're lucky it kind of goes into maintenance mode a little bit. But like I said to you earlier, it doesn't really stop. We're still trying to lock in venues. Bays is working hard on that for next year. We're trying to get riders still. We're still trying to sell partnerships, but we're, this couple of weeks is kind of where we all
take a chill pill for a second.
A little bit, yeah.
Regroup, I'd say, is the word.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely. So now big things ahead. Obviously, this was the quieter time, but let's recap what you've announced so far in terms of this series that's coming up for 2026. You've got a 5-round structure again, but you've gone to some. I was debating with Benny before you guys came on about whether we call these new venues or returning venues, because we've been to some of these places, but some of them have changed. Some of them it's been a number of years for it, but Townsville, Perth, Geelong, Auckland, Newcastle. I think I got that in the right order. We've got these, we're not in the major cities as such. We're sort of maybe just out on some of these ones now. So we've had a bit of a tweak in that side of things. We've got some international riders coming over, which is obviously, a little sore point for my man in the middle here on the screen side of things, but our co-host as well, which we'll get to. We'll let him have his gripe in a minute. But there's lots of big things to look forward to here, like Ken Rocks and Joe Shimoda, local hero Cole Davies coming back. You've put together transport packages for something new for this year. You've got massive list of industry and non-industry partners. Is there a point, Adam, where this is alive and well, Supercross in Australia, or this is still a build point? What are you viewing this as? Because it looks pretty reasonable at this point where we are as we head to 2026 season kicking off later in October.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the best spot that we've been in. I think in terms of stability-wise, I think we have been scrambling really hard for a couple of years to get the series to a point of stability. and that's really been the number one. Our number one strategy is to get it stable, which is it's harder than it sounds, and that involves obviously finding the right locations, venues, commercial deals for those, government support in certain locations, places where you can sell tickets, places where there's not like a high level of turf risk, for example, like Newcastle, for example. I hadn't been able to go there for a couple of years because we had a turf dispute with them a few years ago. This year, they've worked in with a bunch of concerts around Supercross, so therefore that sort of enables us to go there. So there's a whole bunch of different curveballs and things that come into selecting the venues. I think this year is kind of, it wasn't really the plan to have so many new things. Like we actually wanted to have repeat. One of the strategies was to have more repeat because last year was such a big undertaking to have repeat events, because as you can imagine, going to a new location is a huge amount of work, more for us than going to somewhere we've already been before. And a lot of risk because when you go somewhere you've already been before, then you know the market, you know how to advertise there, you know what to expect from ticket sales, you know the venue, all those kinds of things. So, but it just the way things have fallen, and each of them have their own kind of reasons for moving, to be honest, and each of them have their own kind of things that have happened behind the scenes to go there. Which I'm happy to chat about. But those are the sorts of things that formulate the decisions. And I think that we didn't expect them all to change or drop in the 1 year, but it's just so happened that way. I mean, Auckland, for example, has been a couple of years in discussion because we obviously went there in 2018, 2019. You can't go there without government support. So we've been speaking to that government agency for a couple of years. Geelong is somewhere that we talked about for many, many years. Just as an option, and we've always talked to them every year. We speak to them about dates and locations, and the reason for that is because Marvel Stadium is always a little bit of uncertainty because of the concerts that they have and the complexities of that venue. You're never 1,000% sure. So, believe it or not, the year before last, so 24, we signed the venue hire contract on the Thursday of the event week at Marvel Stadium.
Of the event week.
Of the event week. So we're already there, already started, and they're like, we've got to sign this venue agreement. And we've been chasing him for months and months and months and months. They're busy. They've got other bigger bigger things on. And for us to actually get the venue locked in took until then. So then for this year, we'd been in discussions with them for a long period of time. And they've got, I think it's Foo Fighters and Guns N' Roses, or they've got a couple of big concerts around. Robbie Williams, maybe. I can't remember.
Robbie Williams and Gunners.
Yeah, big couple of concerts around. So for this year, they said, after a few months of going back and forth, they said, we won't be able to put the grandstands in at the bottom. If you recall
the ones that come out. Yep.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to put those in, which would mean they'd be in oval mode, which means the crowd will be a long way away. And I said, well, can we move the track close to the edges? And you can't because of the weight restrictions. So it would have been this situation, and they wanted to leave a concert stage in down at one end. We're like, well, that's going to
block the view, and yeah.
So, it took quite. There was a lot of back and forth before actually making that move as well. And the Redcliffe, the Townsville event, Redcliffe, we had another year on an agreement with Redcliffe to go back there, and the venue pulled out in April. So only in April they let us know we're going to terminate the contract for the event this year. And so we went scrambling and came up with Townsville to have a Queensland round. We tried a lot of other venues, but we just didn't have any options other than to go there. And that date, which sucked. We tried really hard to avoid the clashes on that date, etc. So
we'll come to that in a little bit. Yeah. We'll come to that in a little bit, but like that contract side of things there with Redcliffe, like does that, when they break that, like obviously you haven't broken it, but like if they've broken it, do you guys get any compensation out of that, or it's just a too bad, see you later?
Too bad, see you later.
Bugger, right.
Nothing. The reality is, like, and one of the challenges we face, which it is relevant to the discussion, is that we just don't have any pulling power with venues at the moment.
Sure.
We go there and we obviously put a lot of risk on grass. If the venue doesn't have any immediate, like doesn't have A-League or doesn't have a football, or in this case, Townsville has Rugby League World Cup in 3 weeks. So that's a massive amount of pressure on the grass situation. So if you go to a venue that doesn't have an issue with turf, it helps things a lot. But normally they do have, like normally all the good venues have a league team or have something where they're worried about the grass. So you're always trying to maneuver around that a little bit. And unfortunately for us, we're a promoter of 5 events, where the concerts are a promoter like Live Nation or Frontier Group or someone like that does, hundreds of concerts a year. And so the venues and the venue owners, which is sometimes government agencies, sometimes not, or AFL in Marvel State case, they just want to look after them. And so we just get sort of bumped around and we just get pushed to the side and they go, sorry, this is the date we've got for you, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it happens. Unfortunately, right up until about March or April, like I say, is when, there's still potential for movement in venues right up into that time. So I think this year, Perth was a result of the Adelaide one. Probably didn't get. It was time to rest that. Like the Adelaide event, I think a lot of people kind of said from a stakeholder perspective, teams, etc., didn't see the value in going back there again. But also the only date, or their date, sorry, was the one that clashed with Newcastle, which was the only date we could get at Newcastle, which is Newcastle's a great location for Supercross, huge amount of fans there, awesome size venue, all of those things. So we didn't want to miss that opportunity. So a few things which meant that we lost, Adelaide, which therefore sort of led us to pick up Perth. So it's kind of like, all these kinds of things. It just so happened that it all happened in the 1 year, which is a lot of change for us and not what we would have ideally had. But we're stoked with the locations, they're amazing venues. We've got a great spread. We did want to go to New Zealand. That's something we wanted to do. We do have a full national spread, somewhat. But granted, we also recognise that's difficult, comes with challenges, costs, all those things. And therefore, the answer to that is, how do we help with freight and try and at least simplify the freight? And then how do we, how do we save costs? And then how do we give people more opportunity to earn money, which is something that we'll
get to in a second.
In the background.
And Mick, you've been a part of this. Sorry, Elijah, I'll get to you in a sec. But Mick, you've been a part of this now for a few years, coming back into it and stuff. If you ignore Adam for a second, and Kelly's probably not listening, is what you see in this series now, and be honest as much as you can, but is this what you thought you'd be a part of and where it's got to in the time that you've been with it again? Or did you think there was more going to be growing by now, or is it a longer plan that you're trying to be a part of for a lot longer period?
It's pretty easy to sit back and try and expect something to be a lot bigger and better. I come in at the end of 2022, so my first season was 2023. Baze was working on the other gig then, and I jumped into work with Cal and Ash on that. We're all a brand new team, and I mean, I've always worked with Baze on these events. Every single AUSX Open, I'd come and help run the floor in bits and pieces, and it probably wasn't until I started then where I knew the complexity of everything. So it's quite easy to sit back and expect more, but definitely knowing what I know now and what I walked into at the start of 2023 to where we are now, I probably would think we wouldn't be as far as what we actually are.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because these things are not easy.
The extra perspective, obviously.
we're a super small, but we're a mighty team, and these things are not easy to put on. So I'm really proud of how far we've all come. Like I said earlier, we've kind of got our own little pillars that we focus on, but at the same time, we all sit across everything and roll up the sleeves and get it done. So to achieve what we've achieved over the last 3 seasons is pretty epic. Having Baze back on board now is very exciting. I mean, sometimes we've got to reel him back in a little bit. He fucking reaches to the stars up here, and we're trying to bring him back down a little bit. But I mean, that's what makes this thing, so epic. And I'm super excited for what's to come. We do it because we love it. That's for sure. You wouldn't do it if you weren't passionate about it.
I don't think any of us sitting here are in that scenario. We love the sport, right?
So none of us are going anywhere, and it's from what I know, what's to come, and by all means, I don't know everything either. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, nice. Elijah, you're going to jump in there, mate.
Yeah, no, I was going to jump in there. Obviously, you got to book these venues in advance and all that stuff. Now, with that sort of stuff and the travel schedule that's been released, is there the teams and everything that's been spoken to? How's the feedback going? Because I know there's a very fine line between growing and going to new places, and then also growing or trying to go too far and then it actually hinders the series. So feedback with the teams and certain people, and I just know from personal experience and a few teams that I have spoken to, it is going to be a difficult season, for a lot of people due to the amount of ground that we are covering. So how has that feedback been with teams, with you guys, and just sort of, finding that perfect balance of growth or, hindering the series with the travel schedule and things like that?
It's a difficult one for sure. The balance is hard. I think the relationship with them is good. I think when we were in Adelaide, they almost all said we don't want to be here again next year, and they said, because, and it wasn't.
Sorry, Elijah.
It wasn't because
it was fine. I wasn't.
Hey, I want to be clear about it. It's not because it isn't a great event and it wasn't the right thing for our series, particularly year one. It was actually fantastic for our series because we were struggling. Well, we were just trying to get events up to actually have a series. Like, frankly, that's where we're at, right? Where we had, and I got to, jump in to say, like, credit really where it's due with Kelly, Ash, and Mick, because when I went to WSX and I was in a world of struggle there trying to keep that business alive, when Kelly said, "Oh, we want to run Supercross in Newcastle," I was like, "Fuck, really?" Like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Because just the strain on our family and everything, I was just like, this is like, really? Like, you really want to do that? Like, because I was like, I can't help you. Like, I'm fucked here. Like, WSX is about to go bankrupt. I've got to find investors. I've got to do all these things. Like, I'm absolutely like strapped to the wall. And they did it. And they did it without me. Like, legitimately, I went there and I think I emceed in one of the corporate rooms, and that was as much as I knew about the entire thing. And I rolled in like a fan, and the Adelaide race they had that year, I babysit our daughter there. I was just there with her in Adelaide, and I did nothing. I had nothing to do with it. And sure, Kelly would come and ask me a couple of things or whatever, but like, literally, I was just like so tapped that I said, I can't help you. So if you're going to do this, you're going to have to go it alone. And they did. So it was a massive credit to them. And then, so when I left WSX to come back, it was obviously like, I've obviously gone through that huge amount of learnings and obviously was super passionate about what we're doing. But to sort of answer like your question, Elijah, like it's kind of like most of the teams would say it's not ideal to be doing so much so soon. And we agreed. They would all say that the clash on the first round is not ideal. And we agreed. And we said, it sucks. We tried and tried and tried, but we don't have an option. It's either we go drop down to 4 rounds or we do that. And in most cases, it was, we want 5 rounds. And the reason is because that 5 seems to be the number that most people, like the manufacturers, teams, etc., were like, this is a legitimate series. And that's why we were doing doubleheader in Redcliffe, because we're like, and you got to understand that every time you launch an event, it's capital involved. Each event costs about $1.5 million to run. So at least, and AUSX Open more than double that. So to have that money, we don't have that money, to be clear. We don't have $1.5 million sitting in the bank to go, let's launch another event in whatever, let's do it. So to do that and to add events is like a huge cash flow juggle and issue, and how do you manage it? And it's bigger than just like finding the venue, going to a certain place and finding the date and all that. So that's why we're going to Redcliffe, doing double header there. And that was sort of ticking at the box to give us the 5 rounds relatively easy. Adelaide gave us a round. So if you think about it, we had Redcliffe promoted as one event. Adelaide, we didn't promote at all. And so we had 2 or 3 events that we actually had to take responsibility for, promote, take the financial risk on, manage the cash flow, all those things. And so, so to your point, even we can't grow if we grow too fast. Like, even if the team said we want 7 rounds, I'd be like, I don't know how we could do that at this point in time without, because we don't have investors. It's just us now. Like WSX was the complete opposite. It had like Middle Eastern money, and then it had these billionaires that were going to spray all this money, and they continue to. We don't have that. It's literally us, that we don't have that much money. We're just, a family business trying to sort of grow it. So we've got to manage in the same way that those teams do. How do we grow incrementally to be like, and the reason it's a long drawn out story is the way to do that for us is go to places where we can get some government support, go to places that balance high risk venues with low risk venues. For example, Marvel Stadium, the highest risk venue there is. When we were looking at going there this year, we knew from the end of last year the Lawrences weren't going to be able to.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go to Marvel Stadium and anything below 26,000 people loses money, we're like, I don't think we can do that. So Geelong, amazing. It's actually an epic venue. It's incredible for Supercross. It's brand new. It's got all these great things. Doesn't have a roof, which sucks, but that is what it is. You've got government support, a much lower risk, and all of that helps the series in general because you know what I mean. You can't if you have a Marvel Stadium that sells, like I said, it needs 26,000, sells 15,000. Guess what? Series is done. It's all over. We're packing it up. We're done. We're selling our house. It's all over. Mick's got no job. We've got no job. It's done. So we just can't take those risks. So we've got to, because we don't have investment money, we don't get paid for broadcast. We've got to take these balanced punts, I guess, where we go, I think Perth can work. AUSX went there. If we get 13 or 14,000, I think that could work. You know, we can get some government money in the other locations, which we've been able to, and just walk that fine line. Thankfully, we've gone on sale last week. They've all sold as expected. Nothing's shooting the lights out. I mean, none have sold out in a week, but at the same time, they're doing what we expect, which is to have average 16,000 across the series.
Nice.
And so, you know, it's, we expect Geelong to have more, but, you know, so then it's like, it's going the right direction. But if honestly, if I was sitting here telling you, you know, we sold 1,000 tickets at Geelong, fuck me, I'd be shitting myself. I would be proper shitting myself. And that's the way that's unfortunately the way it works when you don't have investment money and all that. So the long drawn out way of saying that, do I think it's ideal to stretch geographically like that? No. Would we have done it all in the 1 year? No. Are the teams stoked on it? No. but they do see the value in 5 rounds. They do see the value in the broadcast. They see the value in having 15, 16,000 average people as opposed to going to shitty venues. And that's the trade-off that we make. We go to better venues because it presents the sport better. But the cost of that is the travel, really.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I think the venues you've picked, as much as they're very far apart, and that's obviously the first thing that everybody sort of caught onto, right? And sort of went, oh crap, travel costs and whatnot. The venues themselves, I think, are actually in that what I call like a nice window, because I said a few times now, unless you have that 2024 Marvel Lawrence, phenomenon that there just was perfect timing where the venue filled with the MX of Nations, the Supercross title, all those things that came together to make that a super impressive event. I don't think we need to be at Marvel. We need to be at those 20 to 30,000 seat sort of venue sizes just outside of CBDs that still allow you to have a regional airport that you can fly people to easily, transport from and to easily, and hit those markets that people are actually living in and are riders that are, half an hour from a track sort of thing. Yeah. For Geelong, we've sort of got tracks nearby and stuff, right?
Those boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Newcastle ticks all those boxes, honestly. In anywhere in Australia, I think that ticks the most of those boxes, which is why we didn't want to miss the opportunity to go there. It's such an epic stadium. It's perfect for it.
I found out the other day, Elijah, I found out the other day at a Motorcycle New South Wales event that of the license holders in New South Wales for motocross and whatnot, 90% of the home addresses were like Hunter based. So like
in the Hunter region. I mean, that's the same for dirt bike sales too. The Hunter region is the #1 market for dirt bike sales in Australia.
Yeah, so it's crazy how much happens in that sort of spot, at least from the New South Wales point of view. I know that sort of info, but yeah, so that's pretty cool that you've got that one back on there. But like the rest of the venues, like I said, I think you've hit pretty well in your choices, just obviously the transport side of things. And Mick, I'll ask yourself, this transport package that you guys have put together, what's it include? What's it aimed to do? Is there much uptake of it so far in it? And then on the back of that too, like the bigger teams, your CDRs, your Hondas, are they still taking rigs to some of these, or are they using your transport setups? What's the pits going to be like if those trucks aren't there, or are they going to be there?
Well, at some rounds they will be at Geelong. All the transporters will be there.
Nice.
And I'm really Townsville as well. But that it's more than just a transport program. What we put together, it's like a rider support program. So the transport part of it is, just one component of it.
Sure.
the program details, and everyone can see it, but we've got access to group accommodation rates. We're going to look after these guys with marketing support to help them try and get sponsors, content, imagery, vision, like we have done the last couple of years. The freight program is a big part of it. We're working on some crates now that we're building up. They'll be able to fit 2 bikes in. They'll fit a bunch of spares in, spare wheels, everything you're going to need to get around. And so it's looking pretty good uptake. When we went out with an expression of interest a little while ago, it was really strong. We went out, I think enrollment started last week, and they've been pretty good too. We've got quite a few people on board. And paid up, ready to go. So,
Okay.
What's really interesting with Supercross, right, and this sport and this industry is that we're the first ones to hear when something sucks. We don't really hear about it. We don't really hear too much when it's good. So, in terms of general feedback, I think I've had 2 emails from people who weren't stoked, and I tell you right now, I get emails from those guys all fucking year, every year, about something they're not happy with.
The same people all the time, the same culprits,
it's
right?
It's the fucking same 2 people. So
It's not me sending the emails, by the way, David.
No,
not
Oh,
you.
really?
You
I
just-
thought you would have been top of the list, right? You
No,
probably already been put in a spam folder, mate.
Nah. So I wasn't sure. You expect when people aren't happy, it blows up. When people are stoked, you don't really hear anything.
Husky's always the first. And I'll say that to his face. He's always the first. He'll call me and go, "What the fuck is going on with this?" And I'll be like, "Oh, mate, settle down. It's Sunday morning. I'm trying to watch the motocross with my family and a coffee." We know. Don't worry. There's a few people that and like there's definitely legitimacy to it, right? Like I don't think we ever want to say and to Elijah, some of your comments, we prefer it come in an email, not on social, but regardless, like there's validity to what you say sometimes, and we're happy to talk about it. And also I think that like oftentimes and the reason why we're happy to have these discussions is the probably without understanding our side of things and the reasons for the decisions made, it's easier to pass judgment, right? And we would say that, do we get it right every time? Absolutely not. But we are trying to do the right thing for the sport, and we are doing it for the right reasons. So it doesn't mean we get it right all the time, of course, but the intention is there, I guess. But we're happy to keep taking feedback, and that's what we've been doing.
This transport program and the rider support program wasn't just something that we plucked out of thin air. We spoke to probably 5 privateers after last season, and we went back and said, how much is it costing you to race Supercross? And Melross was one of them. Zane McIntosh was another one. Cody Alone, Jack Nunn. So we spoke to these guys, and they got their emails, and they come back and explained what Supercross was cost them last year, and we kind of worked out what it was going to cost this year, and that's why we put packages like this together. I mean, these crates, it's 4,000. If you're racing all 5 rounds, it's $4,200, and that gets your bike to every single round. Your bikes, your spares. I mean, try and do that yourself. You're not going to be able to do that. In terms of what your question about the teams, some teams are getting on board with that, whether they're using our crate or their own, because they might have crates from past WSX seasons or not. That's a little bit different, but for the most part, most teams are jumping on this as well.
So does it change that?
Though, like for example, your Reeve isn't, but that's because he has a fuel sponsor, and so for him it makes sense. And he also has so many. He has, I'll exaggerate, 36 fucking bikes that he needs to take. So he's not going to pay us to take 36 bikes around, right? So
he's an outlier in that sense, right?
He's an outlier because he has so many bikes. He has so many bikes that it makes no sense. But we get that. I mean, we would prefer the trucks are there from a show and a spectacle perspective, obviously. So Townsville, they'll be there. Geelong, they'll be there. Newcastle, they'll be there.
Empire are taking theirs everywhere.
Are they? Yeah. And so, like we like having the trucks there because the fans, it's great for the colour and the fans. But I think what the purpose of doing what we're trying to do really is to offer an option, because I know from experiences many moons ago, to go race in Perth, I had to go get, and back then they used to do Supercross one weekend, motocross the next, but I had to get someone else to take the bike, like find a mate, put it in his trailer, paying them some fuel money, blah, blah. So it was just really to try and give an option that means that takes it off your hands, and so you can work a couple extra days each round or whatever. Like again, it's not for everyone, but but I think, you know, we're certainly not making money from it. We're losing money on it, but we think it's the best way to try and subsidise the fact that we have gone to all these locations, and recognising that that's not ideal to do that all in 1 year.
Yeah. Elijah, mate.
Kelly's
Yeah.
Kelly's worked super hard
Hey.
on putting this together too, especially the schedule. And I know there's some concern about not getting access to your bikes and bits and pieces, but you know, post event, it doesn't have to go in the container that night. You've got until, you know, maybe midday the next day or 10 a.m. and then you're going to get your bike early. You're probably going to get access to your bike Thursday or Friday. As in, you know, some locations might be Thursday, some will be Friday, but there's still going to be plenty of time to get to your bike, you know, if you need to.
I think definitely, like you said, Adam, no one's ever going to be, you know, you're never going to get it perfect. No one's ever going to get it right. And everyone's going to always have something to say, right? And I think the way that I've sort of seen it is like, it's awesome that we're trying to get people to have these, you know, cheaper options to get to each round, which is great. But I think what might be sort of, I know, and like I said, nothing's perfect, but what might be sort of missed is due to having, you know, you can only take the one bike, right? So you have your race bike, and you guys know this because you've raced and ride. So realistically, that means that I need now another exact race bike or two here at home, right? So for me, I'm on a, you know, privateer budget, whatever, you know, my bike's probably worth anywhere from 20 to 25 grand, you know, and that was the one bike I could take from round to round myself. I had a practice bike that was similar, but and I would always ride my race bike pre the race. Now I sort of lose that, and I have to now have another 25 to 30 grand bike. So we save in some aspects, which is cool, but then other aspects we do lose out. And you know, like I said, there's never a perfect answer. There's never, you know, a perfect solution. So I think that's what is going to add or make that cost not so inviting when realistically we have to then go and fork out another 25 to 30 grand for a exact race bike, right? Yes, you can do it on a practice bike. But it is very, you know, tricky. So that's sort of what I have, you know, taken from that, and spoken to a few riders that have, you know, have that same sort of issue. There's no way really around that, but I guess that is something coming from guys in my position, or, you know, that sort of, you know, area of riders that I'm in, is sort of the thing that I think some people are sort of a bit, you know, that is hard, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, that is hard. I totally agree. I mean, look, if New Zealand wasn't overseas and you didn't have, and also if you had, so their supercars just went to New Zealand not that long ago, but they sea freighted everything. So it was gone for 4 weeks. You know, if we we only have an 8-week window to try and run 5 events, and then you lose, you know, MotoGP weekend, we can't clash with, you know, there's obviously Motocross of Nations, Australian Junior Motocross that we unfortunately clashed with, you know, venue availability, blah, 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 blah. So there just isn't the window to sea freight everything, which would mean that things are away for longer, so it wouldn't save that problem anyway. But if we weren't going to New Zealand really, really, you know, creates that issue in that sense.
Was there ever a thought of doing just a New Zealand freight option? Is that something that was a thought, or not really?
It is possible, but to go to the freight to New Zealand alone costs what the whole package is costing. So what we've done is subsidise by doing the whole series. It basically allows New Zealand to be lost within the middle of the others. So they're not all equal, obviously, and the air freight back from New Zealand to Geelong is something like 150 grand just for that. So that's really the most expensive part of the whole thing. So to try and make it somewhat achievable, we're sea freighting, and to sea freight over sea freighting one way, because we couldn't afford to air freight both ways. The cost would be too much. So we're sea freighting one way. And so to do that, you need the stuff to be leaving sort of the Monday immediately after Townsville, basically. So it's kind of like sea freight is slow as shit, but it's a whole lot cheaper. And so that's the reason why it's just got to be on the boat. It leaves out of Brisbane and away it goes.
And has there been any sort of kickback on the you know, the release that there was of, you know, everyone sort of suggested to get their own insurance on their equipment? Has there been a little bit of kickback on that? Because, you know, we're putting our $30,000 bikes in your hands, and then say if something happens to that, these guys are still having to cover their own equipment. Is that sort of something that you've had a bit of kickback for or from? Like, you know,
I haven't
around that?
That's the first I've heard of it, to be honest. And
Okay, same here.
in saying that, I think it's a fair comment. And I don't know what the insurance cost is,
Yeah.
to be honest. So no, it's the first I've heard of it, but I think it's a fair
Yeah,
comment.
you know, because like you said, there is a lot of moving parts. There's sea freight, there's air freight, there's bikes in, bikes out, a lot of moving parts, you know, and I would hate for something to happen. But in that rare occasion that something happened and all these bikes get damaged, we get to the next round, you know, there's no cover or anything. So I mean, for me personally, I was a little iffy about that and having cover on my equipment that I spend my own money on. The factory teams, it's a little different, right? But for guys like myself and, you know, sort of you'd probably be 8th position through to the rest of the riders to the back. That's sort of, we're all in the same boat, really.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost is, honestly. I don't know. I know it was just an assumption that everyone would have their stuff insured because people do sometimes. And I think it was just kind of like, hey, you just, you know, that's your business, assuming that you would have it insured anyway. But I don't know the difference between saying, hey, it's going to be freighted and that's additional insurance or what have you. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, I think people are probably just under the assumption that we pay to have this transport, so we should be covered on that transport that we're paying for. I think that's probably where people are sort of assuming, right? Assuming you can't assume anything these days, right? But yeah, I think that's where it was sort of getting confused.
And that's probably fair. And you know what? We could easily have done it and added $100 each for every person and probably well and truly covered it, and no one would say a thing. But we've tried to do everything to keep it as low as possible, you know, and that's the part of this learning process. We've never done this before, you know, frankly. I think the program and the moving stuff around in this way, I think is a very important initiative because I see it like, and it's modeled off of World Speedway or MotoGP, and obviously we started to do it at WSX, and it's how WSX is, right? But we go to venues that don't have room for trucks. We go to venues that are far away. Like, for example, we get an opportunity to go to, you know, in the ultimate world, we get an opportunity to go to Jakarta in Indonesia. You know, no one's got trucks. No one's got anything to go there. You know, you would love to do that and have everything be able to be transported in a way like those other sort of sports are. So it's kind of like a you know, the first step in trying to be a bit more nimble, I guess, to open the doors for more venues, more locations, you know, and all that kind of thing. So definitely there's going to be refinements made throughout, though. That's for sure.
I think it's a good thing that you've obviously made these changes, some forced in terms of locations and stuff, like you mentioned at the start of this, but you did something to try and encourage everybody to still be able to be a part of it with this transport to try and alleviate some of those issues that they're having. Is it, like you said, is it going to be perfect? Probably not. Is it going to work for everybody? Probably not. But there's something there that you're doing to try and encourage it to make it still achievable for everybody. So, you know, you should be, that part should be looked on favorably.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the reality of it is if we didn't care, and that's the point I would like to make, if we didn't care, we would say, see us all there, see us in Townsville, see us in Auckland.
Yeah.
The factory teams would be the only ones that would do it, and we'd not have the racing that we want. And that's not how we want to do things. We want to have full gates. It makes to the racing. We believe that that's important.
Yeah.
And so we're going, how the fuck do we make this achievable? How do we make it possible? And so, like I say, it's not going to be perfect, but the conversations have definitely been had, and we're, you know, there has been a lot of work and thought gone into it, and there will be more. Like, it's just going to have to keep evolving, I think, and have to keep learning and improving as we go.
Yeah. So on the comment there too about like the full gates and obviously then that leads into having like fuller stadiums and stuff. The calendar dates and stuff, I wanted to bring up something because last year I felt like there was a lot of things that overlapped in terms of motorsport in this country, and we sort of hit things that made it hard for our you know, in the nation that has only a couple of big sort of motorsport things, and we're unfortunately not probably the bigger one of those couple of things in terms of like supercars and when MotoGP turns up and stuff, we fall into that second fiddle, right? Which is fine for the moment. Hopefully one day we're not, but for the moment we are. And I felt like last year we hit all those things as like we were overlapping them. This year we've missed them. We're not on Bathurst weekend, which I love. I can actually sit down and watch it for a change. That'll be nice. MotoGP, we're not clashing with it, but we then did hit something that was in our own sport in terms of MX of Nations and the Australian Junior Motocross Championships. And I think, Elijah, that Australian Junior Motocross Championship thing is probably the bigger one that made everybody sort of have an eyebrow raised because of the MA response, right? Like that was a bit odd for everybody looking on. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. It took us by surprise too, to be honest, because the 2 days before we felt that we were really clear and on the same page with the announcement and what was going out. So when that announcement went out following, it took us by surprise. But look, the bottom line is we agree that the date's not ideal. Like, it's not ideal. We had 2 rounds in Redcliffe for October 16th and 17th, locked and loaded until April this year. So, and at that point in time, and then that changed, we were able to pivot, which is good. Dropping around, some people were happy to drop around. We didn't think that was an option because we're trying to grow a series. I didn't think that going from 5 rounds to 4 is a good look. We've also sold sponsorships on 5 rounds. We've got teams that have sold sponsorships for 5 rounds. Yariv was like screaming that it can't go down because he's already, and to be honest, you've got all these stakeholders and people, and so we felt like it would have been a huge step forward to go back to 5 rounds, particularly when one was going to be, to 4 rounds, and when one was going to be in New Zealand, so then we got 3 rounds in Australia, one of those is in Perth, we felt like that was a too big a step backwards. And whilst clashing with those 2 things it sucks, we did everything we could to avoid it, and we just couldn't. Like I said, the Queensland Country Bank Stadium has a Rugby League World Cup on, I think it's 3 weeks later. I said to them, can we please move back a week? Can we please?
Yeah.
And the answer was no chance, because if the turf's brown for that, they'll get fucked on media globally. So we didn't have a choice. But in saying that, had we moved back a week, it's still not fair on juniors because they can't practice Supercross and be prepared in a week and get bikes set up and all that anyway. So it's still not good for juniors to try, and juniors are obviously a big part of the future. Like, it's still not good for them to only have a week's preparation. That would have moved us back into Bathurst weekend.
Yeah.
That would have been a worthy sacrifice if we could have. But
do you guys consider those other things? Like, obviously we're talking this clash with the AJMX side of things, but like those other Bathurst rounds, the MotoGP rounds, do you consider those when they pop up in the calendar? Because like, I think that they draw some of our fans to that, and they will go, I won't buy a ticket to this round because I'm more interested in Bathurst. Like, is that something you guys consider? Absolutely. Or like you just said, like you go, oh, we'd sacrifice that one?
We absolutely consider it. It's because, at the end of the day, we need to sell tickets, and Bathurst has, it creates a lot of issues. But Boost didn't want us clashing with their Gold Coast event. They're a naming partner. They said, you can't go that weekend because we sponsor that and we can't split out. So the series had to move from being on that weekend as well. So you're talking about trying to fit 5 events, and now we've got Bathurst, MXON, Junior Motocross, we got Gold Coast, we got MotoGP. That's 4 of 8 weekends gone, and we're trying to fit 5 round series.
It's hard to miss everything, right?
It's really impossible. But we're still not stoked. That October 16th, 17th was the right weekend, but we just didn't have a venue to be able to do it on that weekend.
Was there ever a thought of trying to do a double header? Like, I know we've done a double header last year at Redcliffe, and we've done it before. So, to me, it makes more sense to maybe, pull out of Townsville or find another venue, but then do a double header somewhere else and not get so much backlash from, because, let's face it, the junior motocross here, there's more juniors than there is seniors, right? So a massive percentage of riding and people that race bikes here are juniors, and you get a huge negative, outlook from a lot of people because we do this round, and you guys know that when you're booking this venue and the only dates you have are junior nationals, was there maybe a thought of going, let's just pull back on that, let's do a double header somewhere, and let's keep again, you can't keep everyone happy, but let's have more of percentage of riders here in Australia that are juniors happy and keep them having something to work and grow into, as Supercross sort of allows for that?
It's a good question. Absolutely, of course we thought about it, but the only venue we could do that is Auckland, because everyone else, we've agreed to a 72-hour window to cover the grass maximum. So the grass can only be covered for 72 hours, and they're the only ones that are kind of like, we don't have anything until next February, so it'll be fine. So, but that's in Auckland, so you know what I mean. So is that the right place to have 2 rounds of the Australian Championship? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty. That was a consideration.
I was
Go
going
on.
to say quickly, just with that, like with the 72 hours, we've done double headers at Marvel. So is the grass different there than the grass is different at Geelong?
Yeah, so it is. And that's because when we go to Marvel, they generally load it up with so many concerts that it's dead. I mean, we went there they charge us for it though, mind
Mhm.
you. Like I think it
Yeah.
was 2 years ago, it was 160 grand we paid for the grass,
Mhm.
and it was dead. We got there and it was fucking like the desert. So
Need to
we're like,
find a
what do
better
we pay
grass
for?
dealer.
What have we paid for? It's dead. It's dead already. So yeah, that is somewhere that you could hypothetically
Mhm.
because the grass hypothetically, and it's not always the case, year on year it changes, but if the grass is going to be killed anyway, but commercially it wouldn't stack up. Like honestly, you would lose a fucking fortune to try and go there 2 nights.
Yeah.
You would lose an absolute fortune because it costs so much to hire, and then you'd pay another 50 grand for the grass and another 200 grand to hire the venue and all this shit for the second day, and you'd
Yeah.
get 5,000 people there.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. So,
So-
it's a balance. It's a tough one, but yeah.
Yeah.
It just
So on
really gotta
that
happen.
on that opening round now with that clash, then like, and I don't know, I haven't heard this anywhere yet. I might have missed it, and sorry if I have. But like, what are we doing with the junior side of things, like that SX3, like the 85s? Are we doing classes for them at the round 1 at Townsville, or are we bumping that off completely from that round and they just start at round 2? What's the scenario?
Gonna tackle that, Mick?
Here's the bomb. Go defuse it.
Yeah, no. SX1, 2, 3 are all 5 rounds.
Okay.
And 85s will kick off in Geelong and do Geelong, Perth, and Newcastle.
So I gather then some of the SX3 guys have probably been in your inboxes going, "Hey, WTF, we want to do both," but obviously they're gonna have to make a decision here. So
I mean, in
Yeah,
my
it's a
inbox,
bummer.
again, there's been one. Had a
Oh.
couple of phone calls, but I mean, it hasn't blown up like, it has on social. And I think it's a couple of people driving that on social, but for the most part, it hasn't been that bad.
I think it sucks. There's no question. But I think 85s have been a huge investment by us over the last few years. Like we want, and I think like you're seeing benefit of it. I mean, Blake Bohannon just won. I'm not saying it's because of Supercross, but that guy's ripping. But he rips at Supercross, and he has the future. I mean, Cole Davies raced, junior Supercross here a couple of years ago, and he's doing fucking well. Caden Minia has made it. He came out of our series a couple of years ago, and I think that what I'm getting at is 85s are a hugely important part of the future talent pool, which
massively,
we'll talk to the international component that we'll get to as well. And so we want them at all the rounds. We're pissed that we can't have them there, but we can't safely tell them, hey, load your bike up in Brizzy the 2 nights after Shepparton finishes without Supercross practice and start in Auckland. That's you can't do that. So unfortunately, we've had to go to do what we've done. But our view on it is that Australian Junior Motocross should finish far earlier in the year. We only have 8 weeks to run the Supercross Championship. October, November is our window that we have. Our view is that the Australian Junior Motocross should be in July. I know it's got to be in school holidays. That it should be in those school holidays. I've honestly been saying that for 8 years at least. And then give everyone a fair crack at preparing for Supercross.
That does make complete sense in terms of your timing. And I will point out something, and I'll say it so that you guys don't get in trouble. But I feel like if you're going to claim, like, Supercross is generally seen as like the bigger series and most popular and most, promoted and stuff of any national series. Look at the AMA, it's Supercross, everyone wants to go to Supercross. Same sort of thing here. They want to do it because it's in a stadium, it's under lights, it's that cool vibe, it's that sort of aspire to do event. Should it not take precedence over every other, event? And like I said, I'll say it so you guys don't get in trouble, but that's my point, right?
We think it. We think
what
it
did
too,
you say? Sorry, mate, I missed that.
Yeah. Yeah, nice one.
No,
yeah.
We agree. But the reason why we agree is because if you want a career in motocross or Supercross, you have to be good at Supercross.
You have to be good at both, right?
That's the way we see it. I mean, look, there's exceptions in the GPs, obviously. So, it's not a blanket rule. But like for the kids of tomorrow, if they want to have a career and race in the US, which so many of them do, we're trying to, our number one focus right now is to create the best possible pathway for that. And in that case, Supercross is that. So yeah, I mean, we think that. Had spoken to MA about it for over 8 years, and it hasn't yet changed.
And here we are.
It doesn't mean that it can't. I hope. Hopefully, some of the common sense will prevail at some point. Because it's no good for anyone. The clash sucks. It wasn't planned by us, obviously, but regardless, we still think that should change for the betterment of junior progression in Supercross and give them
Maybe-
more time to prepare.
Maybe this funny situation that's arisen and obviously made people look at it. Hopefully that makes a conversation happen for you guys, and maybe some things change for 27. We'll see on that side of things. You brought, oh, sorry, Mick, you're going to jump in?
No, go.
No, you brought up the international riders, and I think that's going to be Elijah's favorite topic. He's going to reach back and probably grab a boxing glove or something here. But yeah, the international riders, we've got Ken Roxon, you've got Shimoda, Cole Davies listed down as the ones you've already signed up and promoted. I gather there's probably other people you're still trying to talk to. That's probably the nature of the business right up until the last minute. I brought up before the show with Ben, before you guys came on in the show earlier, that like obviously last year you had a couple of guys that signed up, and then unfortunately, Moto injuries happen. Cole, Juju, Bermere weren't able to get here and fulfill those things. Do you guys have backups and stuff for these riders? Like, how do you plan this? Because you're probably signing these guys. I think I said like something like March or April, maybe even earlier. Like, how do you justify that risk? I guess, right? Like, it's a long time.
Any of these guys will jump out a bit of cash to go ride some bikes, mate.
Hey, there we go. Strike one. Yep.
You know what? I honestly wish it was that easy, but they don't. And the reason why they don't is because normally, even if the rider wants to, the team jumps. Their team in the US says, "Nah, not having it." I think it's public knowledge. I mean, Star Yamaha charged $25,000 per race for people to use their bikes for WSX or for us.
And that's the promoter expense that you're covering.
That's the promoter's expense.
Yep.
And that's the promoter's expense, and they're doing that to discourage their riders from racing overseas races because they don't want them to go. The only one that I would say has not been like that is Honda. And the HRC have been amazing with the Lawrence boys. They knew how important it was, for them to race. And
I think that's a different scenario, but right, like the Aussie connection, they pretty much taken over that team in some way, shape, or form. So that's probably a little different scenario. But yeah, the Star one's an interesting one, but then obviously the rider still gets paid on top of that, right? Like so the 25 to the team. 50 whatever to the rider. There's a lot outlay, and this is the part that Elijah starts going red in the face, right?
I mean, I get it, but I'll tell you, the fact is that if you pay Chad Reed $100,000, for example, back in the day, like we did, that he sells $200,000 worth of tickets, and he doubles the amount of people that are in the stadium, and then puts eyeballs on the sport, which is what we're trying to do. So that the reason is pretty simple. Would we prefer, Elijah, this one's for you, would we prefer not to have to do that? Absolutely. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. We would be in our pocket and we would put it into broadcast and prize money and all these brilliant things. But instead, to fill the stadium at the moment, which the strategy is that we don't have to in the future, we have to pay to get the people to draw the fans in, because you see that it's a very noticeable difference when they are there and when they're not there. So the strategy is not to have to do that long term, but at the moment, while the depth is still building, that's just where it's at.
Well, come on, Elijah, I teed you up, mate. Go for it.
No, I think and I'm all for it. I love seeing international riders come over for the one-offs. I love it because it's given me opportunities to meet Ken Roxon, to meet these guys I've grown up watching, right? So I do agree we need those riders here. I think the thing that gets mixed up or people misunderstand a little bit from my point of view and the comments and stuff is what I don't like is the internationals that are here all season that are obviously taking rides from Australians, which is fine. Teams have the right to pay whoever they want, but then it's the being paid also on top of that by promoters to then be here for our whole series, right? So in that situation, you've got Dean Wilson, Joey Savacci, Luke Clout. These are the guys that are battling up.
Luke Clout's an Aussie.
Is he?
I think you've jumped in a little bit too soon. You've blown your load a little too soon. So what I'm saying is that you've got Dean Wilson, Joey Savacci, Luke Clout, Jet Beaton, all battling for that top three, position, right? Dean Wilson usually gets the win, but we have had instances where Luke Clout has won a main, right? But no matter what Luke does, he's always not. Dean's going to get paid no matter what, if he gets first or last. Luke, even if he wins, right? And I'm just using Luke as a blanket, right? Even if he wins, he's not seeing anything, as in only the prize money, which has not really changed over the sort of 8 or so years that this series has been growing. So at some point, right, we say that we're growing a series, and I agree, the series is a lot better than it was 8 years ago, 100%. But if we're growing and we're going into bigger stadiums, we have bigger costs. There has to be then obviously bigger money being poured into this at some point for these Aussie riders who are doing the exact same job as what Dean Wilson does, maybe not at the level, aren't seeing anything, right? So I think that's where there is a bit of, headbutting with,
Animosity.
our Aussie. Yeah, right. And I am not
I
in
don't
that position
disagree with
at
it.
all.
I mean, to be fair, I don't disagree with it, but I think that I would rebut that by saying, would Luke Cloud have got a job to race in Germany? And if, should he have been allowed to, if we're saying that we shouldn't allow internationals to come in? Would he have got the WSX gig that he had? Would he have got the US gig if he hadn't proved himself against Dino and Joey and showed that he can run that speed? Because I think that I hear what you're saying. The reality is those riders definitely put more back into the series than what they take out of it because they, in terms of the numbers and the reach numbers and all of that stuff. I mean, Dino's got 500,000 followers alone, so it's pretty massive. And the attention, and he's very popular, so the attention he brings to the series is far greater. I mean, what we have ever supported those teams with is jack shit. Like it's nothing.
The teams,
comparison.
but the riders, the individual riders do get supported quite a lot, right? So
not by us to do the whole series, no. So we've supported teams. The teams have come to us and said, like, Uriev's done it forever and a day. Hey, I'm going to get so and so. I mean, he does it for Aussie riders too, by the way. Hey, I'm trying to get 9 fucking riders, but I need help. Can you help me with this or help me with that? And in that case, it's a commercial discussion. Tyson, is the same with Kawasaki, KTM. All of them have done the same. Hey, I'm trying to achieve this. Can you help us? We do think it's our duty to help them whilst because the manufacturer dollars are limited, right? And the industry is limited. We can't expect the series to grow if they have to ask more money out of the industry because there is none. There's no more because the bike sales aren't increasing. So, I think we can't. It's a delicate balance, as you say, of trying to lift the standard, get the eyeballs, have international guys there. But at the end of the day, Urieve started this 6 years ago when he hired Brayton because at the end of the day, no one else has been able to win since. I think it's 6 years.
It's been about 9 years, I think,
9.
since
Okay.
Reardon has won.
Oh, yeah.
Since
2015 was Reardon. I actually asked
Reardon.
Craig Dacker at the press at Redcliffe last year, and I was like, "Is that right?" And he's like, he had this look on his face as was like pissed off that I'd asked him, but he's like, "Yes."
We should get a bronze statue of Dan Reardon and take it all around.
Maybe.
But he started. Urieve started that. But you can't begrudge him for that because, look, the series has taken big positive steps and his team is the only one in the world that I'm aware of that provides a direct pathway to race in the US. And so if you're a good enough Aussie racing in Australia, I mean, I'm sure Nathan Crawford's thinking it right now, then I might get a chance to race in the US thanks to this guy. So, it's kind of like whilst he does bring riders over to his detriment sometimes, he gives more Aussies chances in addition. He doesn't do it in the sacrifice of, in his case, I don't think. So, but I mean, I get it. I just don't think that, I think that what the opportunities that have increased for those riders, Luke as an example included, have increased more than they've decreased as a result of the eyeballs growing and et cetera growing.
Yeah. So, I guess, like you say, those sorts of riders like the Dean Wilsons and Chad Reeds, they, come to our series, they not double, but they bring a lot more in than what you have to pay out, right? So I guess also too on that, like, when does that start, that money that they bring in extra, right? When does that start trickling down to the guys from back? Because let's face it, if you're 4th and back to 18th, you're not really making a cent, right, on prize money alone. So when you look at it in the States, if you finish 40th, you're the last person in the LCQ, right? You get $1,100. Entries over there are $250 US. So you're basically nearly 4.5 times your entry. Whereas here, and I know we're not America. I understand we're not that big. We don't have that money. But here we get 18th or 16th in a main event. I know because I did get a 16th somehow.
Once. He got it once.
Everyone crashed. But I didn't even make my entries back. Didn't even cover my entries. So we grow the sport. Yes, we're growing. It's awesome. These monies that you pay to bring in make more back. but then we haven't for the last 5 to 6 years seen that trickle down to the riders. So obviously there's got to be a point where that does start happening, right?
Yeah,
To keep
I
it
believe
sustainable.
I believe that's this year. I mean, we've got quite a few things still to come in terms of privateer bonus structure and things like that we're working on. And Nick's done stuff with MX Store, and Zane McIntosh got a free bike out of last year. I know that that's not a, it's not everything, and there's
But
more
also,
that needs
like
to happen.
with prize money 2 years ago, we paid, I think 22 or 23 was down to 10th, and the year after we paid down to 20. And so with your 16th, 3 years ago, you wouldn't have got anything. So we have done something. And like they said, we had conversations today, and we've got plans to we're working through it now. We've got pretty exciting plans for this year, but to say it hasn't increased or we've done nothing, I don't think is true.
I mean,
I'm not saying you've done
I'll jump,
nothing.
I'll jump in though on it and say that I agree that the prize money sucks. It's shit. I agree with that. But there just hasn't been the potential to do any more. And when it comes to entry fees, the entry fees come in on one hand and go out the other. So the entry fees generate about 30 grand a race. The prize money is 30 grand a race. It's literally, and less you've got obviously insurance, MA costs, and blah 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 blah. So the entry fees aren't something that we take anything from at all.
Is there a
No,
point
I
with?
I understand that. Yeah.
No,
I'm just saying.
I'm saying I agree that as a yardstick, like of course, you would want to have more money paid down for the people that are doing what they're doing. I completely agree. But the reality of it is, as we've been trying to grow, we just haven't had the capacity. It hasn't made money. So you can't, until we start making money, stabilize and all those things, then those things can increase. That's the plan for this year for sure.
Yeah, well then is that something, because I know, and we would never do this because it would be silly, but you look at UK Arena Cross, that's quite a big series, right? There's, for them, they've actually cut out international riders altogether, because what they've found is it just, in the long term, spending all this money on these overseas riders and these guest appearances isn't sustainable for them to keep that series growing. So I'm not saying we do that because it wouldn't work, but I'm saying, is there a point where we hopefully get to where the series is big enough that we only have to bring maybe one or two over, and then we can, not hand out, but then we can, reward the riders that are in those positions that are looking for that prize money, that are doing the same job, not on the same level, but without those riders, right? We're all monkeys in the circus. Without those riders, it looks pretty empty.
For sure. We hope so. I mean, the way it works right now, though, is that we provide a platform that riders, and we'll use Caden Minier as the perfect example because he's a legend and he's killing it, to race our series 2 years ago.
He agrees with me.
Yeah, but then his manager's hitting us up to pay for him to come back.
I saw those comments. That's the funniest situation ever.
That's the fact. And so the same with Cole Davies. He raced our series however many years ago, 4 years ago, and now he gets paid a fuckload of money to come back. So I think if we're doing our job, we should give the guys the opportunity to go to the US and make the big bucks, and they'll probably will ask us for money to come back. So, I think that's what that's part of the process, I guess. But I mean, do we want to build the thing up so that everyone makes more money? Of course we do. Like, that's obvious. Mm-hmm. The point is, you've got to grow. Our view is, and I have been around long enough to think of it's dead set, is that the platform has to grow first. So you have to grow the platform. If you don't have eyeballs, you don't have good venues, you don't have outside sponsors. Mick's brought in unbelievable outside sponsors that weren't looking at the sport 3 years ago, and they're there because of the quality of the venues, the names that are there, the broadcast glamour, the broadcast numbers, all that stuff. So the broadcast numbers have gone from 3 years ago, 70,000 for the whole series, to 500,000 last year.
Yeah, we went from 70,000 to 460,000 in 2 years.
And that's not including international, which obviously it's well over 1 million actual viewers, hundreds of thousands more. So the point is to try and grow so like what needs to happen, and what our goal is that money, it doesn't just come from us, it comes from others, because I hope that, and we try and help, we will help teams, that the teams can pull a bigger sponsor because of the platform. If we do our job right, it should be easier for you, Elijah, and people like you to get their own sponsorship and bring them in, not because we paid more necessarily, but because the platform is worthy of people that want to be involved and want to support the riders to be involved, and want to be seen to being involved and be hanging out with you in your setup, or be seen with your Reeve. Like, he's got great sponsors, he does it better than anyone. But if the platform isn't that, and it's in shitty speedway venues week in, week out, then he ain't getting more sponsorship. you won't bring in any people to come and watch the sport and
No.
that might be interested in putting money in. It
Yeah,
just doesn't happen.
we
So
can't be.
That's got to be first.
We can't be in speedways and stuff anymore because otherwise the other comments in this comment section will be off the charts. So that's probably
Well,
even
what
more.
about, I'll throw this one at you. What about Kudos Arena? What do you guys think about that? Would you be keen if we went back there?
I never raced it, but I would be all for it. Even at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, I know it was tiny and small, but that was a really cool event.
You're
right?
biased
Like,
because you're an Adelaide person, Elijah.
It was, but we got destroyed for that. If we went back,
Mate, we got dragged across the hot coals for that one.
I think everyone's perspective these days is too much AMA, and they see the size of an AMA track, and they just assume that we're going to produce the same thing, right? So there's
But that's the challenge, though, is that the world's so small now, is that people know who the big dog riders are. They follow the big names. They know who's got they follow the Dinos, the Jets and the Hunters. Like because they know that, you can't fool them. And so they want AMA size tracks. They want all the best riders in the world, and they want everything, I'm talking about ticket purchasers or viewers or fans or what have you.
Yeah.
And so it's not like even back in the heyday, if people talk about in the 80s, you talk about having 40,000 people at a motocross event and all this shit. It's like, because they didn't get to fucking see it any other way. There wasn't even the internet back then. So the only way you could see it was to be there in person. We're competing against that now,
Yeah, things have changed massively. And on your comment about Kudos, I think there's nothing wrong with the venue. I think it's just purely now the bikes are so fast, they can jump pretty much one length of that thing in one go. And then the people are like, why'd you put those 5 little intervals in the jumps? They just went over the top of all of them. It's kind of a situation.
And
so
we also, I mean, on that though, like we couldn't make it. We looked to go on there last year, but we thought we would get ripped, A. But B, we would, even if we filled the whole stadium, it would not make money. It would lose money. And
yeah,
so
right.
like,
So it's not worth it in that
cost.
sense. Yeah.
So you couldn't do it anyway. So the only reason that AUSX Open used to work just because we did 2 days. So you'd do the one full day, just break even, and then you'd try and make some money on the second day, which you'd go backwards a bit. Then you'd go forwards fucking just at the end, not like barely enough to make it worth it. But that's just the challenge of venues like that. Anyway. So it's an interesting one that you said that it wouldn't have covered it. But yeah, like I'm going to change our track a little bit here. And Mick was hinting at something a little bit before, but maybe this idea that I'm going to throw out here is a thing. But you're talking prize money and stuff as well. And is there a point, like obviously the entry fees are something that covers insurance and whatnot. But I think a lot of the privateers get hung up on the fact that when they get a payout for a position, that it doesn't cover the entry fee. I think that sticks with most people as like their sore point, right? Mick, is there a point somewhere that you see that goes away and that everyone that makes, say, top 15, top 20, makes the main event, covers that entry fee as the bare minimum for a payout? Or is that just, weird thoughts and we're never going to get to that point, and you're going more with what you were saying before, maybe where Adam was going, like it promotes the series, you can get sponsors in to cover that side of things. Is that something you see, Mick, or where do you see that?
Well, it is something we see for sure, because when we increased the prize money from 10th down to 20th a couple of years ago, we actually did make sure that whoever got 20th did cover their entry fee. So I'm surprised to hear that.
So SX1 is $350 from 13th to 20th. And then SX2 is the lowest it goes is $250 from 13th to 20th.
What's our entry fee then?
And entry fees, what, 350, 370, all said and done.
I think transponder hire and stuff on that probably bumps over over your mark, I think, is where some of this sort of all falls. But like, again, we've got transponders that goes in, insurances that go in, MA's, cutting into a lot of that power, which isn't necessarily fair from the promoter.
I was surprised to hear that, because that was always our plan and our goal. If you got 20, if your entry fee would be covered. So to hear you say before it wasn't, then I'm kind of surprised, unless that's a transponder fee or something that we didn't really. It's
probably just just that tiny bit there, which is probably enough, because that still goes around like as most of these things that they come up with. But
I think I want to jump in there though, because I think what the point that you're making, Elijah, which is is probably the most important, is the principle, right? You're saying that it's a principle thing more than it is $20. I'm certain that people are going out of principle. If you make that, you should get that back, which I don't disagree with. But that was obviously the intention of the numbers that we're already trying to pay, is that if you get into that top 20, you're at least going to get essentially your entry fee back.
Yeah, and I think like it's, covering it is a bare minimum, right? Like I know privateers, like if they could make $100 over that, like they're stoked. Like they're not. It doesn't take much for us to be like, yeah, awesome. Like it's not that it's
Agreed.
worth it financially, but it doesn't take much for us to feel. And this is going to sound so cheesy, but it doesn't take much for us to feel wanted, right? Like
Yeah,
as in
I get that.
we are wanted there. We are getting paid essentially if we make the top 20 or top 40, right? And so it doesn't take much for us to feel wanted. And I just feel like over the last 3-4 years, if you're not in that top five sort of conversation, it is very hard to keep showing up and feel like, yep, we're wanted here. Whereas
It's the purpose. Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, right. And I know the States is different again, but we use that because that's the best series in the world, right? We're all trying to be like that. Those guys at least are making 4.5 times their entry, right? So they are actually making money, and we're not going to ever get to there because it's Australia. We don't have the numbers, but at least to have something to just hold on to, and those little kids that I train and coach every week want that sort of that opportunity to make something out of it, right? Because, honestly, not all of us are going to make it big. There's 2%, I bet, are going to make it a living, right? So to have it sustainable here in Australia for a long term, that is something I think needs to happen. And it doesn't just happen overnight, but that is something that needs to happen for sure. I think is just looking after the people in the circus, right?
Yeah, and look, I think we would like to look after them more than that, to be honest with you. I think like that's the thing is that probably the frustration that comes from our side, mate, is that like we want it more than what you do. Like we living and breathing this shit every day, wanting to make it better. Like we are on the same team. There's no question about it. We want it to be the biggest, best fucking sport in the world because that's what we believe it is. I think we think the riders are fucking heroes. Like, we honestly believe that at deepest to our core, else we would be much easier to make more money elsewhere. Let me promise you that. So when, like you guys, we're not in it for the money, but we fucking love it. We believe in it. I think the issue is, and something we're trying to break down, is having more open communication with broader industry riders, etc. Like doing this was why I think it's important to understand the realities of where we're at, where we've come from, where we're trying to go, as opposed to, which none of us, would see ourselves this way, but sitting in an ivory tower saying this is the way it is, like it or lump it, because that's not what we're doing. Because behind the scenes, Mick's on fucking at an event weekend wearing 15 different hats, doing 3 people's jobs because we don't have the money to get someone else. It's the fact. And everyone that works in the moto industry works harder than they probably should because the moto industry is smaller than we want it to be.
That's a very fair comment, that one.
So, I mean, look at media people. There's media people everywhere not making money in moto industry. Like we want everyone, the thing, exactly. And that's why we're here to support you, because we want it to be viable, but the I call it the ecosystem needs to grow, and it needs to, like, there's a process that needs to happen, for that to be the case, in terms of more money needs to come into it. More money needs to come in from not within it, from outside, which is, brands. Like I say, like Mick's done a deal with Jake, who's a car brand. It's a Chinese manufacturer. Who the fuck would have thought we would have a Chinese car brand supporting Supercross 3 years ago? I certainly didn't. I think it's fucking epic. And
I got to say, I've never heard of them before I saw them at Supercross. So well done on that side of things. I never knew they existed, right? Until I saw them parked in the pits at Redcliffe.
They're huge. They're huge. They're Cherry Motors, which is the biggest exporter of cars out of China in the world. So they're massive. But all that happens, to your point, Elijah, it absolutely, it needs to funnel down. And I think if you're able to come, there should be a point in time where if you're able to come top 20 in Supercross, that you're getting paid a lot more than just covering their entry fee. I mean, I believe that to be the case because you put in a fuckload of work and it's hard. So
yeah,
but it just has to get there. And I think what you will have seen is that every dollar that's come in over the last few years has gone back into events, new locations and rounds. As I said right at the start, you need a lot of capital and you need a lot of money to be able to grow the series and to add rounds and add locations, to offer freight packages. The boxes for those freight are going to cost us $50,000 themselves, just for the boxes that we've got to buy. Like we got to, like that, and we're able to do that because we've gone to government funding regions that have been able to generate funding to help that's helping us put money in that way to try and, otherwise we would be saying everyone's got to buy their own boxes, and that would have cost $500 to $1,000 each and all of that, you know. So it is coming back around and filtering down, but it is a 100%, it's a process. And you know, if we had, I mean, I just saw NRL just signed a $5.3 billion broadcast deal. I mean, you know, if we spend $600,000 a year to broadcast our series, we don't get a single dollar for it at this point in time. So that's an investment that we hope that then, you know, if there's proper broadcast money, then that changes the conversation altogether, doesn't it?
Yeah, that flips you around, puts you massively in front.
That's where teams get money. Yeah, I mean, that's how other sports work. That's how teams get money. That's how athletes get money.
Well, on the athletes getting money too, like you guys have implemented this promotional part for the social engagement, Mick, and I gather there's probably a bit of your side of things with the relationship side of it and everything. Like that's got to help someone like Elijah, because he does do those sorts of promotions, right? So is that something that, you know, you guys want to see people, is there a certain hashtag these guys are going to have to do so that they can actually see it, like you guys can see it to then pay them? How's it all going to work for these riders to get on these things?
There's a lot more in it than just hashtags. I mean, this is a baby of Bays, and at first I wasn't sure about it, but I saw it kept coming, and I'm like, oh fuck, looks like we're doing this.
Okay.
But there's a lot of opportunity there for guys like Elijah to make some cash now, and looking at it before, it's some decent cash. Like, you know, it's since they opt in, they can earn up to a couple, you know, $2,500 a month, and from there, you know, it grows. And look, there's a fair bit of detail, and we spoke today. You know, we've got to probably try and talk about it a little bit more. But you know, it's just something else that we're rolling out to try and, you know, make these guys earn some more bucks.
Can we get a media partner version too?
Yeah, and I think for sure.
Sign up.
Well, I don't know, can I?
But I think the thing is on that is that the reason for it is that like we're paying for marketing, right? We're paying for AdWords search, and we're paying for, you know, search terms, and we're paying for we pay to produce content, blah 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 blah. And we're kind of like, well, we could take some of that money and put it into riders. If they're willing to do that work for us, then we could pay them for that. Is really the mentality behind it. If we're going to pay to go send videographers out to produce a bunch of stuff, why don't we just say, you know, let's pay these guys, get them to do it themselves, and put money back into the ecosystem that way, while still feeding our channels with fresh content. Because, as you know, you need to have so much content to be able to keep the thing going.
The algorithm's got to work in your favor with new stuff that's exciting and from different viewpoints. So if it's going to go, like, hopefully it gets uptaked right, and then hopefully the value the riders get on the backside from the payments that you're going to do to them, hopefully they see the value in that too, and then can work out how everyone can make it advantage everybody, right, all at once.
We hope so. It's one of those things. Like I'd probably drive people mad with these ideas sometimes, and
Mick can take it.
there's always details that need to be figured out, but at the same time, like I said, that makes sense to me. That if we're spending money on producing content all over the place, why not put money into the people that can do it for themselves? But also, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the chat I had with Cal Makem yesterday, encourage riders to produce content. Not all of them do it, and they need to do it. Like, they need to, if they want to grow their own profiles, because, you know, the job of a motocross and supercross racer, if you want to be a professional, is awareness and attention. And I mean, Elijah, you get that. And then there's reasons why you post what you do, and it's for attention, right? You get engagement and you get intention. You get people clicking. And then I'm sure you can say to your sponsors, look at the engagement I'm getting my channels, look at how many people viewed it. I'm worth something to you. You should at least give me free whatever, you know? And so more people, honestly, we wish you wouldn't do it to bash us. More people should do that to build their own channels and build their own awareness. And Dino is the best in the world as a moto guy, in my opinion. But
someone's got to
we
be
can
the
get
villain.
Yeah, exactly. But and more people need to be driving engagement to their own channels. I think like athletes, if they want to be athletes these days across any sport, need to also take responsibility for the attention that they get and the value they drive for brands to be associated with them. Just showing up and doing the sport itself isn't enough anymore.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, even yourself, Adam, like, and I have listened to your chat with Kale, and obviously Kale has helped me out massively with a lot of things, as he has a lot of privateers, right? So And I think the thing that stood out to me was the most was you are all for getting engagement, getting no matter what, get the engagement, and yes, maybe it comes at the not the expense, but it is maybe a you versus me kind of thing, but it gets engagement, right? So that I'm doing that because I know how it works. I know that people are going to click on it. I know that people are going to engage in it, right? The way you word it, the way you talk about it, and at the end of the day, good or bad, it still gets engagement in Australian Supercross, right? Like
for sure. I mean, I think for sure. However, there's obviously a fine line where then people go, why the fuck would we support this? This dude's fucking saying this or saying that, and then if it gets too far the other way, it's not just attention. You know what I mean? It's not like there's villain and rivalries with Deegans, etc. Right, and that's kind of like something that I think like they play really well. But if it's at the detriment of the platform that we're all trying to build, I don't agree that therefore then it's worth it. But we can agree to disagree on that too. I don't, that's all fine. But obviously,
and I'm just an
but
advocate
the
for
principles
riders,
there.
right? Like, and I've had a lot of riders actually since that post reach, the post, right? Whatever, reach out to me and riders in situations that can't say these things, right? Because they're under contracts or they're on teams. So, and I'm not controlled by teams or anyone. So I'm the dumb idiot that can say these things. So, I guess it just gets the conversations happening and gets the conversation going. And look where it's led us, right? Like we're here having a chat. And I think that's awesome, right? I think that's something that a lot of these riders are wanting or have wanted. And I'm just the dumb idiot that gets hated on for doing it. And I'm fine by that because I don't care, right? But I think it's a good outcome. Not good, but it is an outcome that a lot of riders want that haven't been able to say anything.
Well, I'll jump in here too, because just quickly and say that I think this conversation, as much as it's gone like in all different directions at points, you're actually being potentially more interactive and personable about the whole situation and being very open in some areas too. Like you said, some dollar values that I'm sure people did know about in terms of things like they probably did. The in touch people would, but lots of people wouldn't, right? So I think if people get a hold of this, they're going to hear stuff and maybe understand a lot more of what's going on behind it and why, and that might make things better, easier. I don't know what the right description there is, but they're going to have an understanding that they didn't have beforehand.
Yeah, and I think that's the goal. I mean, that's what we're happy to have for the conversation in that sense. I think, I think I go back to what I said was if we didn't have to pay, we'll use international riders, or pay for, we wouldn't. If it wasn't a key part of the strategy to support the teams so that they can do AB, then we would put the money elsewhere as well. So I think it's kind of like, we're at a point of time where the series, I would say, has taken a huge leaps forward over the last 3 years. Stability has not been there. Like it's been a huge amount of risk. I don't want to say luck, but I mean, I'm happy to tell you guys, like Hunter and Jet 2024 almost saved the Australian Supercross Championship. Them coming and doing what they did, it was the only event for that year that made any money at all, and it basically floated the rest of the series. So at the end of the day, like, thank fuck for those guys for doing that. That kept the series going, and do we want it to be that way every year? Absolutely not. We want it to be stable. We want to enjoy going to work. We don't want to be stressed either, but you've got to take these steps forward. Thankfully, those guys have been huge supporters. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the whole ecosystem needs to grow for the benefit of everyone, ourselves included. I'm sure Mick wants to make more money, and after this call, he'll probably hit me up for a raise because I'm putting Nick through this shit.
Well,
but,
all right.
Everyone wants to. You guys to be successful as well, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
Yeah. Who knew? I didn't know. Nothing. Let's change complete tack. There's something I want to bring up from the fan point of view. You guys have announced about the AI fan companion. Everything's AI these days. Obviously, you guys have jumped into this, with knowing that, and that's a thing. What are the fans going to expect? How are they going to get it? Is it an app? Is it on the website? Give us a little description. What's going on here?
So it's on the website, and really what it is just to help fans. It's two sides. It helps the fans understand and ask questions for what we're doing for the series, for the sport, for the tickets. You always get thousands of questions like, what do you get with a VIP seat? What's the difference between this category A and blah, blah? And what if I want to be at row whatever? And how do I meet Jet Lawrence? And rah, all this shit, right? You get all these questions, thousands of them you can never get to. the fan companion, we continue to feed it and teach it, and then it is able to learn what people are asking and help them. And if it can't help them, eventually they come to us anyway. But on the other side, it comes to us and says, these are the things that people are asking. These are the things
What
that
should I
they
tell
are
them?
liking or not liking. But also for us, we're going, well, obviously we haven't communicated clearly enough on the VIP tickets and what the inclusions are, right? Because 6,000 people messaged this week asking what the VIP package includes.
Yep.
So it teaches us back what we need to be better at or what we need to communicate more clearly. Or
does it link to the sponsors and stuff as well? Like, do they say, oh, they see a brand and they go, oh, who's Nobby? Who's DeWalt? Like, does it link into that sort of stuff, or you're not gone that far yet?
It hasn't really, that hasn't been a focus, frankly. It's been just about ticketing, events.
Yep.
Any of the questions that people generally ask. And then in the background at the moment, we get the data to be like, these are the questions they're asking. These are the things obviously they like or don't like or what have you. And then we get the chance to sort of improve on the fly in real time, as it goes. So it's super helpful, great experience, a lot better experience for fans, but also the data back for us.
I think Mick's brain's ticking because of what I just said. But like, I think of the times when you're watching a Formula One and you see that brand on it, you're like, what the hell is that? How can they afford that on a car? And you're Googling it and you're like, oh, okay, they make something I've never heard of, right? Like, I'm sure there'd be brands that, like, if the team sponsors are on there, they could be a part of that somehow. You can get extra bits and pieces, for it. I don't know. I just feel like that's something that could be a part of that as well,
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, for us, it's just an incremental kind of improvement. We're super grateful. Joe reached out to us to sort of put it in place. And it's a positive thing for sure. But again, you're trying to make incremental improvements year on year. We wish we could do it all at once. You can't. And it's just
it's a nice addition. Hopefully hopefully it helps the fans pick out the right seats and maybe upgrade seats and stuff too. So, but no, it's good. How are we going for time, guys? I've kept you guys for ages. So I'm aware of that. I'm aware of the comments in the chat as well because we had some questions there. So I'm happy to see where you guys are at. If you need to go, let's wrap it up. But where are we at?
Throw a few at us.
We're good. All right.
Let's throw some questions. For sure.
All right, because I have been seeing them, and there's some things. So hopefully, let's try and keep some of them short. One, the boxes for the transport. Are they the same or similar idea to what was WSX boxes?
Yep, but much more simplified and smaller. They were $7,000 each, which we can't afford.
Okay. All right. Yep. Good point. Okay. The team at AME. You guys mentioned it's a small team. How many is actually full-time staff? Let's say
5.
It is 5? Yeah. You guys are running around like crazy then.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, we got as many rounds as we got people. So yeah, very, very lean. But we got a passionate team. So we do the work of 10. I definitely believe that.
After we obviously brought up the JQ bit, somebody wrote about what is a JQ, and obviously somebody else has answered. It's a car. Thank you for that very much.
The best car there is on the market, mate. Go get yourself one today and shout hashtag AUSX.
Best value for money. Chinese Range Rover, 55 grand drive away.
There we go. Somebody else wrote in there about the international rider talk. Nobody's buying a ticket to see Joey Savacci. I think that's a bit harsh on Joey. Joey's a pretty nice guy.
It's harsh. Yeah, that's harsh. They do want to see good racing, and he's good at that, right?
Well, he rode the fence, that net on top of the over-under bridge that day in Wollongong. So that was pretty impressive, right?
I believe that. Yeah, 100%.
Where to go?
How's the tough blocks looking for this year? I was actually stoked to see the tough blocks last year. That was good.
Yeah, I didn't see a post on it though. I would have loved to have seen a video saying how great it was.
I didn't hit any, so it's all good.
Come on.
There you go. Perfect. Because they're triangle now, so you're not going to hit them when you're off the track.
I posted on Twitter or something because I saw a kid smoke one.
Hit the square ones.
Yeah, but a kid smoked one and it literally rolled and just popped straight out the side. And I'm like, that's not happening if that's square. Like, it just, yeah. So well done on that. I think you did a good job on those side of things. I gather they're all coming back.
A big warehouse full of them.
Yeah. Yep. Is that store? You guys have got to store those all year round, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's just got to be somewhat a drag on the budget.
Space you've ever seen.
Yeah. Pretty much.
They're actually, most of them in containers now, but we downsized our warehouse because we realized how much space we were wasting on foam on time, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
What about the last 2 days or the 2 days after the last round, and you got Adam, Cal, Ash, Cole ripping these things out of containers and putting them up on shelves?
Oh, jeez, that would have been a great day or two, right? Just like
It was awesome for me down here. I was fine.
Character build.
they didn't fly you up for that one, and maybe he's going to leave you on a ticket now next round, last round.
No, I'm busy.
Oh, jeez. One person said about Kudos Bank, they'd rather see it in the cane field than in Kudos. I think that's a bit harsh as well, but we'll bring it up.
A bit harsh.
Yeah.
But that's good. That's good, helpful feedback. We won't be doing that. Cane field to be a lot cheaper. If you can get 15,000 people to go there, we're in. We're in on that deal.
Yeah, definitely. One more question from the fans here, and I've just gone blank on where it was. Sorry. Behind the scenes series for the series, as in like a YouTube, behind the moto, behind the whatever, I can't remember what the other ones were called back in the day in the May series. Is anything like that a potential thing in the works? Or obviously you would love to. I know you guys would have seen those things of the years past and would love to replicate it, but there's got to be a lot of money go into that too, and cameras guys, and not just one, but multiples. Is that something that's possible, not possible? Where are you at on that?
Love to. I mean, it's a huge cost for sure. We do, Supercross Life, which is more just like snippets and stuff, and we do it here and there. It's been a bit haphazard just due to the cost. But yeah, I mean, we agree. We'd love to. Yeah, honestly, if we could find
bench races a couple of years ago, that was pretty cool.
If we could get a Netflix or someone to contribute even a small amount, you would do
just
it.
cover the cost of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a definite, a goal. Definitely. I mean, we think the stories of Supercross are way better than Formula One or anything else because the danger and the personalities and 100%.
We do have some interesting personalities that we get to talk to on the show and stuff as well, but like there are more of them in the pits and just waiting to be found, right? So like, yeah, it would be cool, but it's, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to the person that's asked it, but yeah, basically we'd all love to.
We would love to. For sure.
Yeah. One from me, and you guys have covered this a little bit in terms of the time that the track can be down from grass point of view. Thoughts on press day riding and stuff like that, because we've obviously had a lot of things where the track is still being built and getting there because of the time restraints you have. Is there a want to be able to have a riding point for you guys? Is it more important that they're just there and you're doing a little promotion with and talk to them one-on-one? What's your thoughts on it? Because I would love to have a bit more of a chance to have a couple of action shots to go or video shots to go with that initial promo. But I do want the audio visual standing there interview to talk to them and do that sort of thing. So where are you guys at on it?
We agree. I mean, we'd love to. But it really does just come down to time and time to build the track. It's really the only reason. It's only having the time, getting the build done in time, which if there's any sort of weather, that it makes it almost impossible. But it's definitely the preference if possible.
There's also that element of having the guys who do press day not spend too much time on the track. If we had a full track and they were cutting laps, and they got 15 laps in and the other guys didn't, it's not really fair. So that's why we kind of strategically also only let it happen over 1 or 2 sections.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that one's always an interesting one, especially like AMA. They obviously do like a half-ish track, but then they also rotate through. But like obviously you guys are probably trying to promote, again, we come back to those international riders are going to be the ones that are going to be at those press days, short of then inviting a handful of privateers to make sure it rotates through. It's difficult, right? So you've got a lot of complexities there. I think mainly your grass killing is the part that gets stuck on all this, right? So
yeah, for sure. But yeah, we wish we could for sure. I mean, always will if we. I think New Zealand, for example, we should be able to do a lot more because we're under much less turf pressure there. But the other ones will be tough for sure. They'll be really tight. Yeah.
Elijah, you got anything else you want to ask before I get the last question out here?
No, I think I've gone through my list of a few points, and
I've got one, Elijah, because one of your blokes said, "Why do we?" Ask me why I hate privateers.
I was going to ask that.
That was really fun. Like, I mean, that to me, I mean, look, come on, man. Like, hate privateers. Like, most of the guys that race are like my mates. And like, we do this, because we love it. I mean,
Baily and I were privateers.
I was going to say, does that mean you hate yourselves? Like, is that how that goes, right?
Mate, let me tell you, I was more private than the most privateer you've ever seen. I never got any factory every support at all. So I mean, I was just like, I don't know where I've gone so wrong to have created that perception, but I'll work on myself. I promise.
I mean, I don't control what the people say, right? Like that's just a comment, throwaway comment, I think. And look, I understand you guys. It's not a hate privateers thing. Like I get that, and I've never said anything of such. And even in that post, I never actually directly said this is shit.
No.
This sucks. This sucks. I asked the question. So I don't believe you guys hate privateers. And like everyone, we can all be better, right? We can all grow and make things better for each other to grow the sport, right? So I'm out of. I think I'm out of questions, and yeah, I think that's about it for me. But no, definitely no.
All right.
I will say one thing though.
Oh, hold on.
Say one thing. I don't appreciate friends of friends calling me drunk at midnight, going off at me about certain situations. But I'll just that's it.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, tell me about it. It was an interesting phone call.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I think Mick knows maybe potentially what I'm talking about. But anyway,
He's going to leave us all hanging and not give us any context here.
It was a very interesting phone call. No, I'm not going to name and shame. That's probably he's got a business. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. So
most of our mates have gone sober now.
Maybe this one should too. So
yeah, right.
It was a bit of fun to have a midnight chat about certain things. So
yeah,
anyway,
wow.
Other than that, I
would blame that. I would blame that on you being a media personality, mate. That's that's bad when you put yourself in the spotlight. You're just like like me.
I need to keep my number maybe more private from now on.
Yeah, it's 04. No, sorry.
No, go. I can fix it in. I don't care.
Yeah, he handles all the complaints department for AlwaysMoto now. That's the new gig, right? It's a free gig too.
Don't you worry.
All right, let's wrap this up, guys. One, thank you for your time. Let's finish with this. Mick, what are you looking forward to the most for the 2026 series?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to Perth. I mean, I think it's been 15 years since we've been back there.
Yep, that's cool.
Since I know WSX has been back there, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back there. I know I look at obviously I keep a close interest in what gear brands are doing and bike brands are doing, and they still sell so many dirt bikes over there. I think they sell like 18% of Australia's dirt bikes in WA or Perth. So I think getting back there is going to be really exciting. The brands and the businesses I'm talking to about getting involved with us coming back over there, everyone seems pretty stoked and positive. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think it's great that it's back on the calendar, and it's just going to give those guys in the West a chance to actually turn up in person to an event that they want to actually go to. So yeah, that'll be really cool. Adam, same question for you. What are you most looking forward to for 2026?
Gosh, it's hard. I mean, I can't choose an event because it's like choosing your child, choosing your favorite child. I've only got one, so it's easy. But look, I mean, I'm looking forward to all of it in a way because I feel like everything is elevating year on year. I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited about some of the things we've got to come that Mick and I and the team are sort of finessing before we go public on. Some of the initiatives that I think you guys will really like. I'm looking forward to our TV broadcast because we brought in Nathan Prendergast, who heads up broadcast for Supercars. He's coming back to do the whole series, which he's never done the whole series for us for the last few years, which is going to be awesome. So I think that's going to raise a standard. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to Newcastle being able to, all of us collectively, you guys included, to be proud of the series, proud of the direction we're going, proud of the sport, and be like, fuck yeah, we're going a good direction and it's going to be bigger and better again next year. For me, it's kind of it's like a huge build up, and I just want to see it all be what we envisage it to be and celebrate that at the end is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Well, I'm going to be biased and just say Newcastle because it's closest one to me. I'm literally 20 minutes sort of thing down the road, so I'll be looking forward to that. Maybe we can have a little chat about a round table about this in person in Newcastle and see how we've all enjoyed the series and what we've learnt from it. But guys, look, I've had a great time tonight. Thank you for being a part of it. Hopefully Elijah's got his questions out and his grievances off his chest and he can put them all away for a while. But guys, look, I think everyone's...
I want to see an Empire State Building flag. Mick and Adam, legends. Thanks for the
chat. Yeah, check back after the season. Yeah.
Adam and Mick love privateers.
Yeah. I was wrong. Yeah. Sorry, Mick and Adam.
Ammon and Mick have great tough blocks. That'll be the
Yeah,
first one.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
triangle tough blocks for the win.
All right, guys. Well, look, thank you for your time on the show. We'll let you go.
Thanks, fellas.
Enjoy the next
Good to
couple of
chat.
weeks in the lead up, and we will see you in Townsville in a few weeks' time.
Look forward to
Can't
it. Thanks for the support.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
lads.
See you,
See you,
fellas.
fellas.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. All right, Elijah,
There you
mate.
go.
That was awesome. That was the longest party. I didn't think we'd get to an hour, and we were at like an hour and 42 minutes with them. So like we had them for heaps of time. It's great. Did you get what you needed to out? Like I know we sort of, every time you sort of look to something, you sort of go, oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. Did you get there?
Yeah, for the most part, for sure. I mean, like it'll just go around in circles, right? Like we could just go and go and go and go and go and go and you know, something might get sorted, something might not get sorted. So I think it's, like I said, talking to the guys, I said it's important that these conversations are being had, and these, you know, conversations are now sort of, you know, being spoken about, and hopefully things like the guys said, that, you know, they're trying to bring in more for the, you know, the things that we spoke about and whatnot. So I guess time will tell, but yeah, it's a very last minute thing if there is more to come, right? Like the season's not far away.
I think part of their problem with that, because I feel like a lot of their stuff ends up being a little late in terms of their announcements, and just everything generally just feels a little bit rushed. But obviously what they just said, there's 5 of them. I feel like there's only so much that they can do, and they all, at some point, not by choice, it's going to end up late-ish, right? Like there's only 5.
Yeah. I mean, the pro motocross is the same a little bit too. Like there's always last minute things, even though that series has been running for however long, right? There's always last minute things. So and I do I do agree with the guys that the series is trending in the right direction. Like I do see the positives, right? Like it has gotten a lot better from when I started racing Supercross years and years ago to now. So it is, you know, trending, and then let's just hope it just keeps trending, and we can, you know, happy family, right? It'll get along.
Hopefully there's just a cool season. People buy tickets, people sponsor people like yourself, and it just, like you said, it just gets along, and we just grow, and yeah, we can be here in 2027 going, hey, they're paying us this to get there. We're not paying to get there, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that, right?
Yeah,
The dream.
It doesn't take much for the privateers to be stoked about it, right? Like just that feeling of like being wanted.
Like you
right?
said it, you just want to be wanted, but like you guys are easily bought, right? Flash a little something and you'll be like, ooh, you know?
Yeah, I know. Like it sounds so stupid. Like we just want to be wanted, but it is a little bit down to that, right? And not only looking at those top 5 riders or the international riders, and you know, yes, they are the international riders. They're the you know, bringing in the crowds. They are the guys that people probably come to see, but it is very heavily top level supported. They really worry about those guys. They treat those guys really well, and not to say they don't treat us well. It's just that we're sort of in the background, right? Like it's whatever. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're trying, right? Like it's yeah, it's going in the right direction, or it has been a decent last couple of years. So we'll see how this year goes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. I think I'm done. We're getting late in the evening. It's not quite that late for you yet, but it's getting late for me. I was going to bring up one thing before the show, before the interview part with you, if you jumped on, but it didn't happen. But so let's quickly do it now, and then we're going to hit the outro. Redbud and the rain and versus ProMX and the sprinklers. I thought you'd love this because I watched that stuff at Redbud and thought a bloody monsoon has come through here. The place is flooded in terms of some of the car park and whatnot, some of the track. It was literally, you know, a foot underwater. And somehow they're running around motos and it's like barely muddy in majority of the track, yet we put a couple of sprinklers on at ProMX and it's like we, you know, had that monsoon storm come over for 3 days in a row beforehand. Like, what are we doing?
I don't. It's funny, isn't it? Like, I know they've got the machinery, they've got the experience, right? But I'm probably going to get hate for this. Like, prepping a track is not too hard, right? It's not that bad.
It
right?
seems like it's difficult.
Yeah, I know. I've done it before, not many times, but I have done it before. And the few times I did it, track was mint, right? I had it prime, okay? I don't know what is going on, whether there's a communication breakdown from the club to the promoters to whatever, right? Because the same thing. We see the track. Saturday for us looks mint, looks really good. Light sprinkle of water, it'll be happy days. And then we rock up in the morning and it's a mud fest. So somewhere along the line, there's a communication
Something's wrong.
breakdown and something's wrong. Something's wrong, or someone's got to lose a job.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was humorous. I was sitting there giggling when I was watching the races, thinking about this point to bring it up with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it was worth raising directly. So yeah, anyway, maybe Terraugalon will be better, different, maybe.
Well, I mean, that track is a little softer, right? So,
it should take water.
It should take water. And I know in years past, I think they actually have had a fair bit of rain there, and it has been more of a natural mudder. So depending on the weather, but it can take a bit more water. But yeah, I don't know. It hasn't really been a great hit rate so far this season on track prep.
No, let's see what they do this week. So yeah, just thought I'd bring that up before we close it out. But yeah, anything else, mate, from you before we hit the outro point?
I might be racing some off-roads.
I heard you mentioned this somewhere along the lines. Are you feeling? Have you got a temperature?
Well, after all this blow up about Supercross, I said, stuff it. Let's go race some off-roads and not do the Supercross. So, hand guards are on order, and we're going to go do some off-road riding. So something different. Yeah.
Look, you're going to find a new level of pain. Whether it's your hands blistering, your ass getting chapped, or just pure fatigue, you're going to know all about it.
Well, I'm still picking out a thorn out of my finger from a bit of enduro riding on Sunday. So, if that's anything to go by, I can't wait.
The true enduro riders all just sighed and went soft.
Yeah, I know, right? You should have seen me. I wish we had footage. I was riding down this single track with trees, and I'd come to a tree. I didn't have hand guards, and I'd literally turn a corner, take my hand off, so I didn't get hit by his tree, and then back on and go. I'm not built like that. But anyway, we'll see.
You got to learn you got to learn the tree flick where you just put it past them. You pass it through.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. We'll get there. I'll check back in afterwards.
If you're coming to Newcastle, bring the hand guards. A Sunday afterwards, I got the track and the rocks out the back here. I'll show you proper.
I might just run the handguards for the Supercross.
I would love that. That's my thing. I'd love handguards on there. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Big fuel tank too.
Big fuel tank, handguards. It might help when I, ram into a few international riders accidentally, something like that. I don't know.
Why not just add to it? Nah, all good. Well, maybe.
When they lap me. Yeah, when they lap me.
You can be that guy. Yeah.
I'll be the Vince Freeze. They call me Vince Wiese.
Got to clip that. You got to clip that later. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. All right. Well, look, appreciate you coming in. Even though you're late, it was still good. Appreciate Mick Sinclair, Adam Baily for coming on. Thanks to Ben for being on at the beginning and being a sport and having to jump off because we could only have 4 on. So I appreciate Ben for doing that and being in the chat room there as well. So thank you for that. Thank you to the wife and kids. They're not here, so I can thank them properly because they weren't stealing the internet and make it slow down tonight. So great. Thanks to our supporters, obviously Technic Motorsport, Duramoose, Yamaha Motor Australia, Bark Buster Handguards, which, maybe that's who you ordered from. I don't know.
Yep. Hey, I could be still looking for a handguard sponsor.
Well, you should have asked me. I can hook there. Funnel Web Filters, Pivot Pegs, Tech 167 3D Printing for the show support. Massive show. Hopefully you guys liked it. I want to hear about it in the comments, wherever it's posted, on the YouTube later on the podcast. But tell me what you thought of it. Tell me if you had any other questions. We can get back to it another time. Appreciate you guys and girls out there for listening and or watching. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow it on the favorite podcast player. That's it. We'll see you at the track.